Good evening, and welcome to Pynchon Pals, a podcast about finally reading Thomas Pynchon. My name is Patrick Fiorilli, and I'm joined as always by Andrew Tillett.
Hello.
And Duri Long.
Hello.
Up at the top, we'd like to thank our supporters at patreon.com/PynchonPals, where you can sign up for just $5 a month to hear exclusive bonus episodes, like our recent discussion of 1933's King Kong, or this month's discussion of The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, which, if I'm not mistaken, has some relevancies to this week's chapter that we're discussing, or at the very least, the Dr. Mabuse cinematic universe is part of our chapters this week. On tonight's episode, we're discussing episodes 3.12 through 3.14 of Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, a book we are all reading for the first time. It's only 3 sequences. How bad could it be?
Kind of goes, gets progressively worse as we move through the 3 sequences.
I feel like the two Slothrop sequences fairly light as far as the reading goes. It wasn't overly complicated. And then that middle section was extremely complicated, so I didn't actually take away a lot from it. So overall, 3 very light sections.
Oh, yeah. I think these 3 sections really, we once again get a maybe evidence as to why the Pulitzer Committee had some qualms about the the content of this book, or why they were
every day I'm further and further in agreement with the Pulitzer Committee.
Honestly, same. Right. I keep asking why. I feel like we really came off a great sequence last time, and some of the places we went in here, I'm not sure what it's adding. Although I have some thoughts on Revelations I would like to share later on.
Thoughts and revelations. Mm-hmm. Wow. Maybe we can start off here, since I already sort of brought up the Pulitzer business. Listener Jerry sent us an email. Subject line: Gravity's Rainbow at a school board meeting. Have you all seen this? Really enjoy your podcast. Thank you very much. It is a Instagram reel of someone excerpting some select scenes from Gravity's Rainbow at a school board meeting, I believe in Florida, attempting to ban Gravity's Rainbow from, Hillsborough County Public Schools?
It's always Florida. I just read an article the other week about a professor in Florida who was fired, or they attempted to fire her because she assigned a short story that had something to do with a faculty member fantasizing about sex with her students, and amongst a series of other short stories on challenging topics. And I did think, when I read that story, I was like, boy, wouldn't they have a heyday with Gravity's Rainbow? And it seems maybe they are indeed having a heyday with Gravity's Rainbow.
Does that mean they're reading Gravity's Rainbow in the Hillsborough County school system, or is it just in a library that they administer?
It's gotta be just kind of in a library.
This would be a wild choice for an English teacher to tackle.
I mean, it's definitely, I know it is definitely taught at a university level for sure. You can certainly find classes on this. I'm sure our esteemed pal Steven Weisenberger has taught a class on Gravity's Rainbow at a university level. Why else write a companion to Gravity's Rainbow if you're not going to share that knowledge with the next generation? But I don't think that my high school had Gravity's Rainbow in the library, but maybe there was a secret section of almost won a Pulitzer Prize novels that I just didn't know about.
Yeah, the school I went to, the library was just the local branch of the Tri-County library system. So it might have had it, but I don't think it was something being pushed towards the students. It was probably just on, like, an adult fiction shelf.
Yeah.
These things frustrate me so much, though, because I feel like high schoolers are certainly capable of handling difficult content. And while for a variety of reasons, I'm not sure I would choose to assign Gravity's Rainbow as my, like, choice read for my high school English class, I feel like I read a variety of books with difficult subject matter when I was in high school, and with proper guidance and instruction was able to process and learn from that experience.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think there is a valid, and maybe we'll get into this discussion later this very episode. I think there's a valid discussion of, like, what is Thomas Pynchon doing with, like, the descriptions of depravity and especially as it relates to the sexual fetishization of minors in this book, I think is really the toughest stuff in there. I mean, yes, there is obviously sort of graphic descriptions of sort of like sadomasochism and corporophagia, et cetera, as is quoted in this school board video. I want to be clear. Don't go dox the Hillsborough County Public School people. I do not want to be accused of, like, doing targeted harassment. That is not the answer here, folks.
Which sections did they read?
It is, I believe, the sections on it's Concha and Pudding's Lady of the Night sequence, and then part of the bestiality section from this week's sequences. So
You don't even get into the pedophilia? They can't get that far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm against censorship. Just, like, blanket across the board. That being said, like, I can see why those two sections might be a tough pill to swallow for a school board. But again, Andrew, I agree with you. I feel like this probably was, like, a non-issue that someone dug out of a public or, like, school library.
this seems like the kind of thing if you Google, like, most offensive books, and then you're, like, going through
is it in the library? And then you
school
make a
library
big
of
fuss,
like,
like, political fuss about it.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, if you're high school and you want to read Gravity's Rainbow, like, more power to you.
There are no high schoolers in 2026 reading Gravity's Rainbow. I want to know the last time this book was checked out.
Listen,
You're
kid,
so right, Andrew.
if you're gonna read Gravity's Rainbow, I'd rather you do it in this house than somewhere else.
I mean, yeah. I feel like I also read an article recently about how the youth are, like, they're not even assigning books in English class anymore because it's too challenging, and they've, like, resorted to short stories.
Or sequences, because that's what shows up on standardized testing.
Yes.
Which really, we were just talking last time about how the sequence would have made an excellent short story. So maybe just cut out Franz Pokler's bit, teach that.
If a kid is dedicated enough to want to sit down and read a 770 some page book, more power to them. You shouldn't hold them back.
Thomas Pynchon excerpts would be great for standardized testing. Can you imagine the, like, reading comprehension questions that could be pulled out? God. What kind of ship is the Rusiklus?
You just get that, or you get, like, how many torpedoes exactly were fired in the above paragraph?
Whose perspective was this paragraph told from?
Oh. Anyways, thank you, Jerry, for reaching out with that. We had not come across our desk, so thanks for sending it our way. As you all can do at pynchonpals@gmail.com, our email address. Shall we get into talking about the sequences?
Let's do it.
All right. This is sequence 3.12. Margarita takes Slothrop back to a wooden house in the Russian sector. Slothrop sneaks out that night to return Zaura's stash, but finds the counterfeiting hideout has been raided. Slothrop follows directions hidden in a chess piece to Zara's new digs. The gang's all there, high as kites as usual, but alas, Slothrop is going to have to pay himself by selling off his cut of the hashish. Slothrop sleeps with Trudy, fantasizing her crawling into his Pinocchio nose, while Magda's boyfriend Gustav and Zara have an argument over the respective merits of serious dialectical Beethoven versus trivial tuneful Rossini, before reconciling over weed tasting notes. At the site of a police raid, Slothrop heads back to Greta, whom he finds practically manic as a kind of paranoid codependency grows between them, culminating in violent sadomasochistic sex. Slothrop wakes from a perverse multi-part dream of Noah's Ark by way of bestiality to go make his deals and fish from the river.
Real Holsick crew vibes in this chapter.
Once again.
Yeah.
I kind of want to stay with Trudy and Magda and Gustav. I think they seem to be having maybe the best time of anyone in...
Well, it certainly sounds like a better time than hanging out with Margarita.
Indeed.
Who seems like a real piece of work.
These guys are so relaxed in the face of just adversity after adversity. They're just smoking, chit-chatting.
I think Greta needs some
They're having such a good time.
Gustav's still hanging out inside the piano. Let's not forget he's that guy.
Every Holsick crew has a guy who's underneath of something that you shouldn't always be underneath of.
There's always one. Let's see, where do we begin here?
We get a cookbook item pretty quick off the bat.
We do, yes.
Margarita makes onions and potatoes.
I mean, yeah.
Quality dish.
Quality dish.
Slothrop hasn't seen potatoes for a month.
Excellent clause in the form of they both just sit there just pigging out on those spuds. He has a real way with words, Thomas Pynchon.
Oh, yeah. So we can make like a massive sort of like potato hash.
Yeah, I mean, this just sounds like a good sort of weekend breakfast.
Yeah. Maybe minus the eggs.
They don't have any eggs. It's hard out here.
They're eating polluted fish.
Ugh.
Yeah, the this sort of shack that Margarita seems to be squatting in, found this like a really evocative description of like a place. It reminded me a lot of Roger and Jessica's sort of hideaway way back when outside of London. Except this one's got like a burned out King Tiger tank and a bunch of the enemy is listening posters papered over holes in the roof.
I thought it was really funny when Slothrop, we get sort of like a little bit of like Slothrop's inner monologue. And he's like, yeah, what about this Garot business and Jamf? Like, I haven't really thought about that in a while. Like, it's been a minute. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what I was thinking, Slothrop. I was like, you really lost the plot on your main mission.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that he's suddenly having the best day of the year in this section. He's just kind of, who's paranoid? Not me. I got to go deliver this weed real fast. I guess that's maybe how good a weed this is, that he's suddenly not the paranoid guy anymore, even though that's been his whole thing up to this point.
Well, he's like, he's encountered someone who's more paranoid than him. He's like, whoa.
I thought I had it bad.
I like this idea of the anti-paranoid part of the cycle, that for at least a minute here, Slothrop is just like, you know, maybe nothing's connected to anything. It's all just individual units and events. Things just happen or don't happen. Whatever, man.
Yeah, but he said that,
sort of,
you can't really bear that condition for long. I feel like that reminded me a bit of Stencil back in V. Like, if you would have taken away his conspiracy, he would have just fallen apart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he kind of did, and then he found a conspiracy again because he didn't want to live without it.
Yeah, I mean, this in a big way feels like it draws us back to Slothrop's sort of puritanical roots that, like, either we're here for a reason, for, like, divine providence, or we're just here, and that is clearly the worst option. It's got to be some guiding hand.
I felt like this little dig at the plot, though, felt very like we've been watching a good amount of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I feel like that show is very self-referential at times, where they're like acknowledge the fact that they've fought like this ridiculous set of monsters, or there's been like a 12th apocalypse that they've dealt with, and I felt like Slothrop sort of had that moment here. Where he's like, oh yeah, it's been, I don't know, 50 pages since you last read about Laszlo Jamp.
50 pages, but he acknowledges that it has been like maybe 24 hours. It's like the day before yesterday. He was on the hunt.
A lot happens in a day in Gravity's Rainbow.
He's traveled all over Berlin. He's met Mickey Rooney, and he met Margarita. So, for Slothrop, that's like 3 huge things. He doesn't normally do this much stuff.
And President Roosevelt died.
Oh, yeah, and President Roosevelt died.
Oh, yeah, it's been a tough couple days. Then he had that horrible stomach bug. Let's not forget that. I guess that was the last time that he spoke. Because he met with Inzian at one point shortly before that.
Yeah.
And that is presumably the last time he's really had anything to do with the Escarat. There's a lengthy description here of just like naming nouns and like things that Slothrop is encountering in the streets as he is snuck out from under Margarita. That reminds me a lot of his desk way back when.
I thought the same thing, Patrick.
We haven't had a sentence, one of these sentences in a while. I think we commented a lot on these types of long lists of objects in the first couple sections we read. And it's been a little while, I think, since we've had one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like Pynchon has a interest in the sort of detritus that builds up. I was kind of thinking that Slothrop's desk was sort of the during the war detritus.
Mm-hmm.
And this street was sort of the post-war detritus.
Yeah, well, it's like the paperwork versus the paperwork that, or the destruction that the paperwork has wrought.
Yeah.
As we get a little later on. But even here, we got the smooth-faced custodian of the night humming hoarse lullabies.
He tries to go to the Chicago bar. It's being sort of guarded. He gets kind of kicked out by these 2 bouncers.
Did you know that a Veronica was a like matador move?
I did not.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I was kind of impressed
that together
by
based on the context. I mostly being surprised that he's still wearing this costume. I don't know why I was surprised that he was still wearing the costume, because
it surprised me too.
We would have been told explicitly if he changed clothes, because we have been every other time. But I forgot that he was wearing a cape.
Yeah, cape and presumably still the helmet.
Yeah.
Until the moment where we will soon lose it.
What a sight.
He busts out a slogan or a catchphrase. Ficht Nick mit dem Rocketman. Sure. That's probably not the craziest thing these bouncers have heard in their time, but it probably caught him off guard.
Yeah, I think the companion notes that like it's a real sort of like word for word English translation of "Don't fuck with the Rocket Man" that like if you were a native speaker, you might translate it a little differently, but I think it works for Slothrop. This is what he's picked up. He's feeling a lot more, ever since he became Rocketman, I feel like people are acknowledging him much more as American. Like, he has shed his Britishness,
I mean,
to a large degree.
Do you think
Did
a
the English
European
have-
would wander around with a cape and like a garish helmet on? That feels like a very American thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't the Europeans invent garish helmets?
That's true.
Well,
He
like
is
in war, but I feel like sort of
That
like
we're in war.
wandering the streets
Very
in
recently.
daytime.
Yeah, that's true. He does get this from like a Wagner opera costume.
I
so.
guess so.
Did like England have comic book characters though? You know, that feels very American to me, but I'm sure there's like comic strips and stuff. I'm sure there's an English comic book somewhere, but like if I saw someone in a crazy costume that I was like, that looks like it's from a comic book, I would think they're probably American. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I think you're probably right.
It feels very fraternity to me.
Oh, you think this is sort of like a pledge challenge?
Yeah, like
of,
wandering
you
around
have
at a
to-
toga party or something.
You have to go around and be Rocketman all night.
Yeah.
I could see that too.
There's an interesting sequence here where Slothrop finds himself in sort of a dump.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting. I'm trying
A
to place
junkyard?
what junkyard. Thank you, Patrick. That was the word I was seeking. Of like old vehicles.
I guess
And
it used to just be a parking lot, but now it is a junkyard because everything is destroyed.
oh, I see. It's not like it was not originally a junkyard.
I assume a lorry is like a truck, right? This is like a truck yard
No.
that has just been bombed.
I see.
But he says that it reminds him of, like, in America, this just looks like any other junkyard. But
Junkyard.
like here it's
Okay, I think the word lorry tripped me up there.
a lorry park.
But anyways, what I thought was interesting about this passage is that he kind of compares the junked vehicles as like looking almost like masks
Mm-hmm.
or faces. And I feel like this image of faces and masks keeps coming up throughout these sequences that we read. I'm not sure quite what to make of that yet, but people's faces sort of keep changing. Or there's a couple other, I'll try to call them out when we get to them, but I feel like there's a couple other references to masks.
Well, specifically here, they're like Saturday Evening Post faces. So it's like, picture your Norman Rockwell, like charming Americana.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure how he's getting that out of the like tangled metal, but I guess it speaks to Slothrop's
State of
psychology.
mind.
Yeah.
I think, you got the grill that's kind of a mouth. If you smash the roof in a little bit, you get a slant for some eyebrows and the windshield and
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that cover of like
I don't
the
know.
like Thanksgiving table, the Norman Rockwell painting, and
Mhm.
It's not getting there for you?
how I can think to achieve that with sort of mangled metal, but I believe it.
No imagination, Patrick.
I've seen Cars, Patrick. They're very they have a lot of expressions.
What's the thing where they like went back and forth when they were making cars and like doing the initial designs over whether or not the headlights were going to be the eyes or not? Like they tested it both ways to see what read more face-like, whether windshield was eyes or headlights were eyes, and they
I feel
decided,
like that answer is clear.
Well, they decided on windshield.
Did
But-
they
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, in the Cars
I haven't
movie.
seen the movie.
But they like have eyes. It's like the windshield's not opaque or it's not transparent. It's opaque
Yeah.
and it's white and they've got like eyes. But then like if the initial put the eyes for the headlights makes sense.
Yeah.
But then what is the windshield? Like that
A really big forehead.
it becomes confusing. And then you wouldn't get that joke at the very beginning where the twin Mazdas flash their headlights at lightning. That one's for the parents.
Oh, yeah, that is a good joke.
Good one, guys. I love that one.
can't believe you haven't seen Cars. Duri doesn't even know who Tow Mater is.
I mean, I've seen like the visuals from Cars.
Clearly not perceptively.
Lightning McQueen won the Piston Cup 7 times, Duri.
Oh, goodness. Where does he end up?
He ends up
at the cellar.
It's the cellar.
Saura's cellar, because he didn't find him at the Chicago bar.
Where he encounters some plastic.
Yeah, before the even more relevant piece of plastic, I just wanted to highlight the foot gloves with individual toes.
None of this is good.
Like, what is that? Like,
well, first of all,
they're like bowling ball shoes.
There's a yellow wickerware suit.
I couldn't figure out what that was. When I googled wickerware suit, it just came up with the new movie about the Wicker Man.
There is, I was thinking of that exactly.
Saw that trailer last week, right? Read this week. I was like, I know what's up. Wicker Man.
But what is a wickerware suit, Patrick?
That's just what comes up. I don't know. I assume that's what we're supposed to be.
It's got to be like getting. Wicker, right?
It's just wicker?
Yeah, wickerware in the way you'd say like
Tupperware?
You have like the wear, like the wear suffix being like a material made out of.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like I think this is just supposed to be like some weird stuff that Slothrop finds here.
Yeah, what was going on in the cellar? Is this more like costume stuff that they've raided?
Could be. I mean, it's kind of scarecrowy Wizard of Oz-y.
Yeah.
These Germans
interesting.
Have been pretty depraved. Is this like a pre-latex thing?
Yeah. It does articulate along armpit, elbow, knee, and groin lines. But I guess that's just where you would want articulation if you were moving in it.
Sort of suit of armor style.
Yeah, and then we got the variegated resin bowling ball. What do they call those? The Vibrams? 5-fingered, 5-toed shoes or whatever? Yeah.
I kind of wanted a pair of these bowling ball shoes. They seem kind of cool. I'm not generally a big toe shoe fan, but I liked the idea that they were sort of cast from resin.
But they're pretty comfortable if they're sort of made up to like wooden clog standards. You know, they like perfectly fit your feet. Could stand all day.
I bet if you got like, if you molded them from your specific feet, I think that would be what I want. Like I want
for sure
a facsimile of my foot.
Yeah, you can't. There are no hand-me-downs of these.
Made out of presumably, well, I guess the plastic chess piece that he finds is made out of Imipol XG, perhaps. At least that's what I assumed from. Wait till Slothrop finds out what kind of plastic the chess piece is made out of.
Well, and interesting. I forget if we've talked about this already on the pod. But Der Springer means the night.
Yeah. Well,
have we already talked about that?
I can't remember if it comes up in the book. I don't think we talked about it, or if maybe we just looked it up separately. But I guess it literally means like it doesn't translate as knight per se. It refers to the knight like chess piece, right?
Yeah,
it's like
specifically in chess. Like it means the jumper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think in German, that's the name for the rook. No, the rook is the castle. The knight.
Yeah, the knight. We get a lot of allusions to chess pieces. I mean, up to this point, right? We've had a lot of people that have moved like the knight around the chessboard of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to see an actual one.
I can't believe Gerhard von Gerl is such a central figure to this book.
Shocking.
Because when you think about it, he was at the White Visitation. He directed Alpdrucken. He is now like up with Blodgett Waxwing and acting as Der Springer. He's basically the most important man in Europe. International man of mystery.
Connecting everything. Didn't in V didn't the young Godolphin find like a rolled up message in the elder Godolphin's like cigarette or something?
Yeah, it's like inside the rolled up, like the cigarette paper.
Yeah, this very much reminded me of that.
I'm surprised for this particular character, Pynchon did not just reuse that exact coded message form. Where Slothrop's like, surely Bummer would never use this kind of rolling paper. What's this? A message?
Now I gotta change it up. Find the calling card of Der Springer.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of talk of like almost fashion or fashionability in this, where like everybody in the zone this summer is using the sign off that John Dillinger used, or in the next sequence we get the like guilt is like this season's hottest accessory or something to that effect. Like, and of course we are also encountering once again sort of a debauched kind of high society swankiness. But I feel like that is a theme that is like building throughout these sequences. Back out kind of in the sprawl of Berlin, we get this interesting vision of Rocketman of the 30th century landing here to tour the ruins. High desert traces of an ancient European order.
Kind of continues Pynchon's interest in tourism. I feel like that comes up again in a few pages. He references tourists coming to tour the extermination camps.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually makes it to Jacobistrasse, where the sort of big slum building that's what's his face is living in. What's his name? Sour.
Yeah.
This felt very expressionist to me.
Has 5 or 6 backyards nested one inside of the other. I like that from your sort of luxury apartment building. Be like, yeah, there's 5 or 6 everyone has a backyard. They're all right here.
A shotgun backyard. Yeah, these I mean, this whole sort of tour of Berlin has been very architectural in nature, but here once again we get the very, I mean, I was just about to say expressive facades, to your point, Duri, of the expressionist filmmaking here.
Yeah, there's like long shadows. His cape is making like a long shadow on the succession of arches that make up this building. That felt like a shot from a Cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something.
Mm-hmm.
This is another reference. He describes this building as looking like a face, and goes into kind of a lot of elaborate detail about like what the face looks like, and it almost looks kind of like a clown. It really reminded me of the Vortex in Atlanta. Which
for our listeners who maybe have not driven around either of the 2 locations of the Vortex, but specifically the one in Little 5 Points.
It looks like a big face, a big creepy skull face that you walk through the doors or the mouth.
Shout out to the Vortex. I was never a huge fan of the vibe, but
me neither. But
it's worth looking at if you're.
It came back to me here.
Yeah, so Slothrop walks into the throat of this sort of giggling building. And then we cut to inside where Zara's hanging out. Gustav's hanging out. Agda's hanging out.
This
Rudy's
is definitely the best time across all of these sequences.
Trudy's in there just wearing an army shirt, no pants, saying, "Please come to bed, Gustav. It'll be light soon." Gustav answers only with a quote peevish strumming among the lower strings. Dunk, dunk, dunk.
Slab would fit right in here.
Oh my god.
Charisma. I was a little bummed out. I feel like I would have been a lot more pissed off than Slothrop is to find out that I went through all of what he went through to get this weed, and Zara doesn't have his money for him anymore because they were raided.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it's at least a couple of times now that Slothrop has failed to get paid the money that he thought he was going to get, so he's probably getting used to it.
It's funny because he keeps getting paid an exorbitant amount of money, and then the money is promptly rendered useless, you know?
Zara is asleep, and he gets woken up, and he believes that Slothrop had been picked up and thrown in jail, even though he's only been gone like 24, for like having to walk to the town that's down the street and back and like sneak through. He's only been gone like 36 hours. Like, it doesn't seem, just no faith, really, is what I'm saying.
You're probably like picked up and released from jail at this point. Like, you're picked up, you're put in jail, and then like the entire back half of the jail is just like a bombed out crater, and you just like walk out the other side. I feel like that is probably the vibe of what policing looks like at this point. Unless you end up, I guess, in, you know, the wrong sector.
MPs.
Yeah. There's, in the running for greatest similes Thomas Pynchon has ever written, is eyes like two piss holes in a snowbank. Just really tickled me.
I really liked the Rain's million-legged scuttle. Not in the least because we have had several large rainstorms recently. And I feel like that is a pretty apt description of what rain sounds like on a roof.
I feel like Pynchon gets a lot of credit for being like a big writer, but also sometimes he can just do so much in a couple words.
I think my favorite moments of Pynchon's writing are when he's describing something in a really elegant way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he, more than a lot of other writers I've read, like really surprises me with how like the different metaphors and similes he uses, but how apt they are. Like, they really capture things.
We find out why the counterfeiting operation got busted, and it's because their good friend Der Springer, quote, moves in higher orbits, and he needed to bust the counterfeiting scheme because he needs Reich marks to not be inflated too greatly, because he's got a lot of them. Or no, he's trying to do something with pounds. It's a whole thing. It's a scheme.
Yeah. There's all kind of like interlocking schemes at work. I appreciate like these folks here. It seems like Waxwing like is really in the racket, is like running a growing kind of thing. Whereas, you know, Zara and the crew here are just, hey man, if you can get us our 6 pounds of hashish back, we'll be set for a while. Don't even worry about us. Der Springer we don't even need the counterfeiting operation anymore. You know, they know what they're about. And they're about getting high as shit.
That does seem to be the vibe. They have a lengthy discussion about music.
So this...
Oh, do they?
Weisenberger reminds us, has, quote, been anticipated in GR for some time. Recall, for example, the Rossini Tarantella heard at Monte Carlo, or Slothrop's first night of freedom on the Rue Rossini.
Well,
yes.
My anticipation has been building for this conversation.
This is our Brinschluss.
There's no less than 2.5 pages devoted to glossing the sort of Beethoven-Rossini conversation here, the dialectic between the southernness and northernness, and, you know, the organic and the mechanical, etc., etc.
Yeah, I feel like the main thing I got about it is that, like, I liked this line about Rossini, through the machineries of greed, pettiness, and the abuse of power, love occurs. That felt very like Roger and Jessica to me.
I wrote R plus J right next to it in the margins.
Our favorite lovers. And But then there was this mention of Beethoven as one of the architects of musical freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. That was the main dichotomy that I took away from it. Was this like
you're furrowing.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase what I'm saying. The difference between, I guess, sentimental song maybe that speaks to people's emotions and like highlights an important feeling versus a song that really like breaks custom and does something different. I don't know.
Yeah, trying to capital D, capital S, do something.
Yeah. I'm not a big classical music person, so I don't want to offend any Beethoven or Rossini fans out there.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not taking a side.
It seems like the Rossini heads in here are sort of like doddering old farts who are just like showing up to the opera to see and be seen and like tap their feet. And they couldn't tell good music if it like ran up and slapped them in the face, which Beethoven would do if given the chance.
That's one perspective, but also he's capturing love.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a Seinfeldian quality to this conversation of Gustav is here going like, come on, Rossini, let's get all the pretentious fanfare stuff out of the way. Let's get on to the real good tunes. It's a great tune, Saura yells back.
I like that midway through this conversation, Saura comes in from outside and is like, oh, fell in a shell hole. That really got me.
Yeah, unresolved, the distinction here. This what's his name? Anton Webern was indeed shot by
North
a Tar
Carolinian?
Heel. A Tar Heel, in fact.
Not our Tar Heels.
Yeah, this really did happen. You can basically, as far as I understand it, they were like Webern's brother was like involved in black market. As they say here, like this story is basically exactly how it happened. And then Anton stepped outside and was promptly shot by an overeager police raid.
Where was he from?
I couldn't find where he was from in North Carolina, but
yeah, I'll look into this more off pod.
Yeah, we don't, in as much as we should not dox people from Hillsborough County School District, also don't dox people who are related to someone who may have shot Anton Webern. Blanket policy for Pynchon Pals, don't dox real people mentioned in Pynchon in books.
No doxing, no censorship.
Exactly. That's our policy.
That's the state of our manifesto right now. We'll keep expanding on it.
It's
Proverbs for Paranoids.
It's the appendix of the cookbook.
Yeah, eat bananas.
It took me a while to figure out what was going on this next page until I started...
The tasting notes?
Yeah, until I started reading some of it out loud. I was like, do I have to Google all of these German words? Like, I don't know if I've got time for this. And then...
Generally more bucketreich than last year's harvest, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I feel like I clued in when they started sounding more like sort of like respellings of English words, like as can often be said of that sober quality prevailing in the region, authentically piquant. And then I was like, oh, I know what's going on here. We're having a sort of pretentious wine tasting, but with the weed.
You could probably find this exact conversation happening in any number of apartments in Berlin to this day.
To this day. Anyways, I'm glad I kind of sat with that for a minute and just kind of tried to work out what was going on my own, because I feel like oftentimes I I jumped to Googling the first word. And I think it was more fun to just kind of like sit with this and be like, what is happening here?
Do you want to know some of the translations?
Please enlighten me.
Andrew, you might have, in your extensive German learning, I don't know if you, what you have caught from here.
Körper means body.
Yes.
That one fell in. I can't say I know what Buchetreich means.
Aromatic.
Oh.
The dope has its manners, which is art. He finds its flavor nutty, which is kernig. And clean, which is sauber. Piquant is piquant, as you might imagine.
I like that I read that like a sober quality.
Glatt is smooth. So yeah, there's a good exploration of German adjectives.
Mm-hmm. See, this would be a great little excerpt to teach in your German 101 class.
in your high school in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Funny, very very kind of Groucho Marxist quote here, or I guess not a quote, but a little joke of the MP saying, "Show me your papers," and he produces some cigarettes.
I also liked that they were doing sort of reading the tea leaves, but with how people roll their joints. That happened a little earlier.
Yeah. Why do we have to leave?
I don't
guys?
know. Slothrop didn't even want to leave either. He was like, I'm having a good time here. I'm like, I'm not really sure why he goes back to Margarita.
He doesn't know it's going to be as bad as it turns out it's going to be.
I guess not. She seems like a real piece of work, though.
Look, I'm sure maybe in another world he would have rather gone to jail, but he didn't know.
Yeah, I guess the police raid. Maybe he would have stayed there forever if the police hadn't come. He doesn't blink twice about cheating on Margarita.
No one is cheating. He gets back on anyone at this point.
He's pretty clearly like, whoa, Margie, we haven't had this talk yet.
I don't think there is such a notion, and Gaily Tripping would agree, there is no such thing as exclusivity in the zone right now.
They seem to all have very open relationships.
The arrangements. Isn't that what Gaily says?
Yes.
Yeah. Real quick, in addition to the show me your papers, here are my rolling papers joke. I liked the German symphonic arc, tonic to dominant, back again to tonic. Teutonic, dominant. The war is over, fella.
I'm not sure I really got that one, if I'm being honest.
You were silent and staring at the book for a moment after I said that. Like,
suffice it to say, I didn't laugh out loud when I was reading.
The tonic is like a relationship from one note to another, or like from one chord to another. But when you say Teutonic, it sounds like Teutonic, as in Germanic. And then dominant is another chordal relationship. But you're saying like German dominance, the Nazis lost the war.
Wow, that's a real funny one for the music heads.
It's not even a music joke. It's just a little pun. Teutonic.
Well, yeah, but you have to understand what tonic and dominant and the word Teutonic mean. It's a lot of background knowledge to be able to understand that joke.
Look, they can't all be papers and rolling papers. Sometimes got to be a bit of a head scratcher.
Okay.
A thinker.
I got the Kekule serpent. That redeems
still
me missing this joke.
I'm
riding that high.
So Slothrop goes back to Margarita, and he instantly gets George Bushed by a high heel.
Mm-hmm.
He is not happy.
No.
Yeah, this is a creepy sequence of like where it's like kind of unclear whether like men actually came into the house or not, or whether this is just paranoia or has something to do with the mirror, or whether she was dreaming. Slothrop's like, well, why didn't you sound like just stay awake? And she's like, I was awake.
Yeah. I hope nothing bad actually happened to Margarita, but she seems kind of unhinged.
Yeah, she kind of does it. She kind of tells a not so dissimilar story later where she's purposefully trying to get a ruse out of Slothrop.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's unclear in that instance too if she's followed through with what she's talking about.
Yeah, she's sort of like, I think there's a lot of confusion here about like she's kind of playing the victim, but was she actually victimized? Has she like led herself to be victimized? She like keeps sort of goading Slothrop into these sort of like sadomasochist interactions.
Yeah, the way she tells this story, she says, "When you left, I woke up. I called you, but you didn't come back. When they were sure you'd left, they came in." Which makes it, I mean, that sounds very much like a sort of the 1, 2, 3 progression of the story, but it sounds like when she, she didn't know or when she was sure he wouldn't come back, that's when they came in,
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially in light of some of the events that happen a little bit later on in the sequences that we read, I don't really trust Margarita.
Yeah, I mean, the flip that the sort of flip from being like Slothrop's wannabe girlfriend to just like dropping him once the Anubis shows up later. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's supposed to be the
like
Lizaura of the Tannhauser, right? Like the woman Slothrop abandons to go underground. But it kind of seems like she's abandoning him.
Well, yeah, and she paints herself. I mean, I feel like we first meet her and she's letting out this like painful cry about like where her daughter is, and then it turns out that she's definitely her daughter's abuser.
Mm-hmm.
So her daughter is with her husband.
Yeah, like she's just
it's all the people.
Yeah, I know this is just sort of like manic actress, perhaps past her prime archetype, but I just keep thinking of Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, big time.
As we get more and more of Greta.
Big time. Yeah, she's really bringing the drama in a way that I feel Slothrop's previous ladies have not.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like the they here, where Slothrop is like, "Who, Greta?" and she's just like, "They came in." Like it feels intentionally rhyming with Slothrop's confusion. I mean, it's not a capital "they" here, but it feels very much similar. Of like, they were waiting until you left.
It's just such a complicated
Probably a capital "they." It's a capital "they" from her perspective, I think, right? Like, it's not the capital "they" because it's not Slothrop's people.
I feel like this is such a complicated characterization because she very well could have been victimized, and it seems like maybe she was, but also maybe not.
Yeah.
And there are so many people that we've met who have been sort of horribly
assaulted or
victimized, but then she at least, maybe I'll eat my words in a few chapters, but she at least seems like she has been kind of leveraging that aesthetic for personal gain.
Well, that was also her career, was sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was her movie career, but then she's leveraged that even in the war, we find out later on, for personal gain, and like seems to seek it out and like reproduce it, and even in her interactions with Slothrop seems to like manufacture conditions.
Yeah, we'll get into more of this.
It's complicated.
We'll get into more of this, I think, but a thing that I was thinking about as we progress in this book, like we've talked amongst other Pynchon, I guess the 2 other novels that we've read, of like, as far as Pynchon and his depiction of women go, I think like Rachel Owlglass and Oedipa Maas do a lot of work for like, this is an author who, like, to put it very bluntly, like, writes well-rounded, like, very well-developed, thoughtful female protagonists or sort of secondary protagonists. And this book also has a lot of interestingly rendered women characters, but Rachel Owlglass and Oedipa Maas, they are not. And I think they are definitely like playing in a much sharper or like more tight-ropey space of like, okay, this is a woman who is a, you know, professional victim. I mean, both Greta and Katja are effectively professional victims of sexual assault to some extent.
Yeah, and the whole, I mean, I think we had the same conversation back with Katja of like the extent to which it's consensual is a little murky.
And Jessica, I think, provides a counterpoint to this. Like, Roger and Jessica, I do think, remain something of a moral, not center of the book, but counterpoint to some of the other kinds of relationships that we see.
Will we ever see them again? Who knows?
But anyways, I think it was coming into focus to me that, like, in as much as I think V and Crying of Plot 49 are doing something with their portrayals of women, I'm like trying to figure out what is femininity in Gravity's Rainbow. A dense, very loaded question.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that one right now.
I'm sure it'll keep coming up.
Slothrop and Greta have a really long crying session.
Slothrop has a dream about his dad,
where he finally gets to confront him about the IG and about Roosevelt. Really, the two big things that he wants to talk to his dad about: the death of the president and his childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he really gets any resolution, but, you know, it's always good to confront people.
Yeah, it's an interesting admission of, like, this genuinely... Slothrop has gone through a lot of things, but he has not often felt sad. Like, this is Slothrop feeling sad. Like, I think it's an interesting humanizing moment of, like, he is sad and uncomfortable that some kind of business dealing went down between his father and this weird experimental chemist.
Yeah.
/ psychologist. Greta's trying to cover the mirror because the devil is behind the glass.
We have a lot of mirror imagery in these sequences, which I'm going to call back to at the end.
Do you think Thomas Pynchon just had like a scary mirror in his room when he was a kid and he was like, I don't like that mirror?
Very possible. I was very afraid of Bloody Mary
me too.
in the mirror as a child.
We've gotten spooky mirrors before in other Pynchon books.
It's true.
V's full of them.
We've had mirror time before. I, unfortunately, reluctantly, we're going to have to include this broiled fish in our cookbook with brain damage.
Yeah. Does it say, is this around it that are like, anything swimming in Berlin waters these days has to be everybody's last choice?
Yeah, they are a goofy fish. Brutal.
Rough times out here. The potato onion situation sounded better than Slothrop's sort of hairpin caught fish. I will say, for Slothrop's benefit, he seems rather resourceful.
Sure.
Like, I've been kind of impressed by the degree to which Slothrop seems able to handle himself in a wide variety of situations.
He's really good at yes-anding.
He's the Rocketman.
Yeah, Rocketman knows how to catch fish. And, you know, deal some hashish on the side.
Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, they don't end up eating the fish because Greta and Slothrop get into another fight and she throws the dish across the room.
Yeah, she doesn't just throw the dish, she throws the entire table. I really like the line, They sit in their 2 straight chairs, 1.5 meters of perilously empty space between them, which is kind of a ridiculous image when you think of it, of someone sweeping away the entire table and suddenly you're just like sitting across from someone in a chair.
Yeah, but the tensions are high. It feels like they might murder each other.
She might be trying to get him to.
Yeah. She's definitely trying to goad him into something, and then he very much is goaded into it. This felt very analogous to the whole situation with Katja.
Yeah, back in the casino.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not loving for Slothrop the increasing sort of thematic and imagistic connections between him and Blacaro. Both guys with messy desks, you know?
Maybe this is a fine point to share the revelation that I had.
Duri's revelation.
Duri's revelation.
Do it.
1 hour into the pod, roughly, it is time for the revelation.
It really came to me at the end of the last sequence that we read, because I was really trying to make sense of some of Slothrop's choices and actions.
You mean the sequence we have not talked about yet?
Correct, yeah. But, I mean, I think it remains true through all of this, like, kind of like not understanding why he's staying with Margarita. I'm not really understanding what he's gaining from this situation. I don't know why he, like, sort of continues to participate in these escapades that, like, he doesn't really 100% seem to enjoy them. Like, there are times when he describes having sex where he actually seems like he's having a good time, like with Trudy, which I feel like we skimmed over the fact that he pictured her climbing into his nose.
Oh my god, yeah, we forgot to talk about the
that
nose.
at all.
I feel like that's actually
we skipped straight to the music conversation.
I feel like that's actually an important lead up to my revelation.
Do you want to quickly describe or talk about the nose?
His like nose gets an erection. I don't even know what that means. What?
He gets Pinocchio'd.
Oh.
You know, that famous erecting nose?
Well, I never thought of Pinocchio that way.
You would just ruin Pinocchio.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick.
I don't know if it's the Pynchon Wiki or the Companion, but one of the two points out that there's like some 1970s like erotic movie about Pinocchio having a penis nose.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, so then like Trudy sort of starts fondling his nose, and then kind of he like things get a little fantastical here. Maybe he's high on the weed. Like she goes up his nose. And this really reminded me of callback to the beginning of the book, the adenoid sequence.
Sure.
With the really big adenoid wandering around.
An assumed fantasy of Pirate Prentice through which he was able to solve some diplomatic conflicts.
Yes, and I think Slothrop and Pirate Prentice are connected. That is part of my revelation. So,
okay,
I feel like I feel like we can't take this book too literally. As I'm like reading through this, like Slothrop is making a lot of choices. There's some wild stuff going on. I feel like the last sequence gets like pretty unhinged. Is this really happening? Is it not? Are they on a yacht to Hades? We'll get there. And I don't know. I was like, there's like Trudy's crawling into his nose. Like there's a lot of mirror imagery. And I was kind of getting the sense that like Slothrop is kind of like the mirror of whoever he's surrounded by. He's kind of reflecting Margarita's paranoia back at her. He gets on this boat of people and like reflects all of their, like, just kind of joins in and like reflects their desires. We'll get to that. I feel like throughout this whole book, he's just stepping into situations and then just sort of like taking on the motivations of everyone he's around, and is like, yeah, sure, I'll go like hunt down this reefer that I don't really care about, or like, yeah, sure, I'll do this thing that like seems morally questionable, but you're doing it and I'm here, and why not?
That's what he yes ands.
Yeah, exactly what you said. Like he yes ands, and I feel like he's just sort of like mirroring people's desires back at them. And then I was thinking about the nose and the adenoid situation. And I was like thinking about Pirate Prentice's talent for inhabiting other people's desires. And sort of living them out for other people. And I was wondering if Slothrop was kind of doing something similar, because oftentimes, like, I feel like he steps into a situation and kind of loses his agency.
Oftentimes through his penis.
Yeah, like he kind of gets led into a situation and like loses his ability to almost seems like say yes or no or and then just kind of ends up participating in whatever's happening. And I was kind of wondering if that was some of like he's like sort of living out these other people's desires or something about his conditioning is putting him in that situation.
Do you think that he is performing a similar type of skill as Pirate Prentice? Not that Prentice is doing it to Slothrop?
I feel like he's performing a similar type of skill, but I feel like it has to do with his conditioning. I could be way off base here. I don't know. But I feel like he's been conditioned such that he gets into these situations and is suddenly like aroused by things that he wasn't previously aroused by.
He is often, I mean, I think an interesting point there is, and we'll get to this, but he is often either surprised or dumbstruck or like sometimes disgusted by his own arousal. Like the first time he meets Greta, he's like, I don't know why I'm doing this. And this never really been into any of this like torture and bondage business thus far in my life. But here I am. But then he just
gets into it and like stays in it for.
And Pirate, I guess we should remember the first time we read about his talent or whatever he calls it is that he was like walking through a park and suddenly had kind of perverted, lecherous thoughts about like two schoolgirls or whatever, Girl Scouts, and then realized that he must be inhabiting the fantasy of the creep over like by the bush or like hiding out in the park somewhere. Which is either a convenient explanation for why you yourself are acting like a creep, or, you know, you are reacting with horror to inhabiting someone else's sort of desire or fantasy.
Yeah, I think the question of agency is tied up in this as well. Like, does he have agency over his choices, or is he complicit in the sin of whatever he's been conditioned to?
His like arousal with Margarita, I mean, if that goes back, we've seen, I mean, the whole book was, I guess, kicked off by the fact that he's getting these arousals and having sex with these women seemingly at random, and it's causing the V2s to hit. And we know that Margarita is on Onorine, right?
Seems like it, yeah.
That out? And that has been a drug that up to this point, I mean, we've been told is also developed by YAMP, I think, or at least by the IG. It also has some kind of time-stopping power. It seems closely related to Imipol XG in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think too the like agency thing too. Like this is also the master creature's innocence inverse proportion business, that like whether or not you're just, you know, as it were, kind of like a Nuremberg defense here of like whether or not you're just following orders from your conditioning, or you're inhabiting the desires and orders of some external command. Like if that thing is bad, you are also acting badly.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's what the proverb for paranoids would tell us. We might be onto something here, Duri.
Yeah. Or is he just written that way, like Jessica Rabbit?
There's also, I think, like what you're describing is almost like a vacuum. Like we've seen several characters compare themselves to vacuums, that like if you are an empty space that is ready to just kind of be filled by an influx of other people's psychic trauma or whatever.
I'd never really thought of a vacuum as being similar to a mirror, but when you described it that way, they sound pretty similar.
Yeah, Andrew, physics question. Is a mirror just a vacuum for light?
No. Because the vacuum like takes it in, right? The light
Bounces off.
The vacuum takes what is around it inside of itself. Yeah, and the mirror sort of is sort of a rejection. It's kind of the opposite of a vacuum. A vacuum takes something in, and a mirror instantly rejects it.
Interesting. Be thinking on that when we get to the Hall of Mirrors toilet ship in
Yeah.
in a few moments here.
Yeah, I might circle back to a few of these ideas as we move further on, but it's something I've been chewing on since we finished these sequences.
That's good. I like this. And it is kind of sort of exactly what's happening here when the narrator says whatever it is with her, he's catching it. And in part, this is the sort of like, as we see here, a quote, race-sex reaction of like whiteness and blackness and domination and submission, but in and around all of the sort of like white-black imagery we get here, the hair like black doves, chalk hands with darkness around each finger. We also get these, the paranoia cycle has cycled back to paranoia from anti-paranoia. Everybody is out to get Slothrop again.
It was a short-lived sojourn into anti-paranoia. We're back, baby.
Maybe the weed really mellowed him out, you know?
Oh, it's good weed.
He should just get a
It's
prescription.
full-bodied weed.
Just carry some with him. I think he was maybe in a healthier place for part of this journey.
He escapes from this crowd of children in a very Dorothy-esque way, by Miriam Hauptstufe 3 times. The rocket mantra.
Yeah.
Hauptstufe, Hauptstufe, Hauptstufe.
Exactly.
More creepy children
Mm-hmm.
in Thomas
Or
Pynchon.
creepy children. All children in Thomas Pynchon are creepy, except that one girl with the fossil.
Mildred.
I want Mildred to come back in a future novel.
I don't know that I want her to come back. I want her to stay pure and innocent.
What if she was just like the renowned paleoarchaeologist?
That would bring me joy.
Or paleontologist, I guess, not paleoarchaeologist. Maybe she gets into pottery.
We don't know how her interests develop.
This, I did find several people have pointed out that Wannsee, where the soldiers are, is where the conference, the sort of Nazi conference for the final solution, the extermination campaign against Jews in Europe, was sort of finalized and done up kind of in writing.
That's just the lake in Berlin. I don't think I ever went there.
Yeah, it was in 1942. A lot of the paperwork from there, I think, became evidence in the Nuremberg trials, but it's it's some kind of spot, I guess, to go toward the Wannsee Villa for a Sunday stroll. Shall we jump to the dream?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Sure.
Speaking of Slothrop, perhaps inhabiting or taking upon other people's trauma, desire, whatever you want to call it, psychic damage, all of the above. He has a dream about a poem divided into 3 parts.
With woodcuts.
Yeah, with woodcuts.
I kind of missed the dream line until I read your summary. And I just kind of I noticed the poem part, and I was like, what type of poetry book does Slothrop have?
Ban this poetry book from your library.
So there's a lot of things that this reminds me of. I guess the basic summary is that a woman goes to a dog show that is also a stud service, realizes that she would like to have sex with the dogs, and then starts having sex with a bunch of other animals, is pregnant, drowns in a river, and then is dragged up by Squaladazzi the Argentine, who is now playing a kind of Neptune figure, whereupon she, dead, gives birth to all sorts of fauna.
I feel like maybe similar to our Slothrop's toilet dream, even if I don't maybe relate to these particular dreams, I do feel like Thomas Pynchon does a good job of throwing in dreamlike elements. I'm often substituting random people I've seen recently for main characters in dreams.
Yep, I think there's obviously kind of like a Noah's Arky or like creation myth quality to this. It also reminds me of the Aardvark woman in the Herero myth we read about, who has all of the stillborn births and then is buried in an Aardvark hole and then is sort of becomes fertile again, having emerged from it.
I feel like the motherhood was a big theme in V as well, and I feel like I still haven't quite figured out what Pynchon has to say about it.
I think he has to say that he has a complicated relationship to his mother and father. Or just, maybe we all have complicated relationships to parentage.
She also dies, this woman, in the poem.
Well, yeah, she
dies in order to give birth to the creatures.
She elects to jump into the river, right? Because it says her husband will take her where she wants to go. They go out to the river. She's dead at the bottom of the river.
Yeah, makes an agreement with her. Her own promise is never stated.
Yeah, it feels...
it's like a plan.
Noah's Ark, but also a little Jesus-esque. Kind of like dying to save all these creatures. Self-sacrifice.
There is a weird, this feels like mythological in like a very like Ovid's Metamorphoses kind of way, or like a real pagan kind of mythology of like a truly bizarre and kind of disturbing cosmology. I don't know, like there's a ring to it of like, yeah, I could see, a ancient Roman poet writing about a creation myth like this, or you know what I mean? Like it feels capital M mythological in that way.
Well, and it takes a weird turn where it goes from this very, I don't know, frou-frou rich woman taking her Pekingese to this special dog store and like this kind of disturbing story to like it ends in kind of a beautiful place where all these creatures are being born and there's this like gorgeous pond.
But also it starts to become more poetic. Like there are line breaks that start to be included. Yeah,
large sections of the third part of the epic poem.
Yeah, I feel like I was transported from like a really gross pet store to a gorgeous lake where creation was birthed.
Yeah.
Which doesn't often happen to me in the course of a dream or poem.
If I were Slothrop, this dream would not leave me either. I would be thinking about this dream for a few days. I'd be like, that one was bizarre.
That was a weird one. Not quite as weird as that other one where I went down the toilet, but... Another idea that I've been toying with that I'm not sure about.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been wondering if Margarita is drugging Slothrop. Because we learned that sort of she's on the the drug, and the last time that Slothrop had a pretty wild dream, he was drugged by the white visitation folks.
The meal that she doesn't let him eat is the one that he cooked.
Yeah, I'm like wondering if the wine or the potatoes and onions were.
Well,
If you drug someone's potatoes when they haven't seen potatoes in months is a heinous thing to do.
Jeez. Well, we get to a point where, again, flashing a little bit forward. I know we got another sequence before that, but there's a line that's like, Slothrop gets from a waiter what is ostensibly a whiskey and soda water.
Like
that's what he ordered. He got a drink.
I read a lot in like that particular area about what Slothrop was drinking, because there was a line also in that section that we'll get to that really like made me think that Margarita was up to something. I'll point it out when we get there.
Should we leave it here and take a break and return to talk about our last two sequences afterwards?
Let's do it.
All right, Pynchon Pals will be right back.
Sit down, weary traveler. I am not what you seek. Join me in a meal to hear of my repentance.
Welcome back for section 3.13, in which I have once again put a word from the text that I'm going to try to effortlessly pronounce. And we'll see how it goes. Locked in one of the bizarre officers' lavatories aboard the prototype toilet ship Rücksichtslos, translation reckless. Andrew's giving me 2 thumbs up.
It sounded professional.
V2 aerodynamicist Horst Achtfäden has been captured by the Schwarzkommando. Unable to stomach a 179th viewing of the in-room peep show machine, Achtfäden meditates on airflows of the rocket, the winds of history, and his personal guilt. Enzian and Andreas arrive to interrogate him about the Schwarzgerät, whereupon he gives them the name of Klaus Narisch, the Quintuple Zero's guidance head.
This really came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a section like this. And by a while, I mean since whenever the toilet bowl section occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So here's an interesting conundrum for you. The Weisenberger Companion and some other commentators, although not all commentators on this book, suspect that the toilet ship is a fantasy under sort of like sodium amytal interrogation, that what we are supposed to get from this is that they have maybe just put this guy in a toilet to lock him up while they are sort of doing a drugged interrogation, and that he is fantasizing the existence of a whole class of toilet vessel.
I would like to know the relationship between sodium amytal and toilet hallucinations. So it seems like you can't get through an interrogation without toilets being a central theme.
I mean, sodium amytal is real, so maybe there's some studies on that.
You know, if any of our listeners have ever been interrogated with sodium amytal, please let us know if you thought of a toilet.
What do y'all think? Before we get into the toilet ship as such, real thing in the Pynchon universe here, or drugged hallucination?
I mean, given the track record of some of the characters in this book for drugging and interrogating, and then the flip of drugging and hallucinating, or being drugged and hallucinating, it certainly seems probable that this is another example of this. There's a couple of lines, I guess, that indicate that we might not be on a ship. But there's also a lot of lines that indicate that we are on a ship. And I do think it is also up Pynchon's alley to have created a new class of war vessel specifically for the Kriegsmarine to use the restroom while they're at sea.
Pynchon's got me questioning so much that I did, in fact, Google whether the toilet ship was a real thing.
What'd you find out?
I just saw stuff about Gravity's Rainbow, so.
You weren't looking in the real files. I know a guy in Geneva. He can get you the real files.
Is there a museum somewhere, and in the sub-basement there's a giant toilet ship?
Maybe.
Get docked in some allied backwater port for 80 years. You can go tour it like a museum.
It's in the sub basement of the Museum of Science and Industry.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. I have a question. So how are you all picturing the toilet ship?
It's a ship that is mostly toilets.
You think it's a ship that's mostly toilets, not a ship that is sort of shaped like a toilet?
It says at one point that it has like that its shape is such that it's not clear if it's like what heading it's on. Like I imagined it almost being kind of like star shaped or something, that like if you're seeing it from a distance through like an optical telescope, you might be like, I can't tell if that's coming towards us or going away from us, or
it's like no front, no back.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I pictured much of what I thought the outside looked like. I was more thinking about the inside.
This kind of came when I Googled it. There was some Pynchon fan art that depicted the ship as like literally looking like a toilet. Like the way you traverse the inside of the ship looked sort of like how the, I don't know, bottom of a toilet looks, with all the curves and like a slide.
Interesting. You should see if you can find that and link it to me.
I'll see if I can find that and link it. I was like,
who's getting the toilet ship as their Pynchon tattoo?
I was like, that's opening a whole nother range of possibilities for me, is the idea that this ship is actually shaped like a toilet.
What this reminded me of is there's a I don't know exactly what sketch show it is, but it's Mr. Bean. It might just be a segment from like a Mr. Bean thing. Just say what you will about Rowan Atkinson, but there's like a sketch where he's like designing a bathroom, and he's like at an interior design office, and they have like a model of a bathroom, and they're like, oh, I think, a shower would look good here, and you could put a vanity in here. And Mr. Bean just keeps putting more toilets in the room, and he like lines the wall like from the entire perimeter of the bathroom with toilets, and is like, I think another toilet would look good here, and perhaps just one more toilet, and you could put a toilet in the shower. And that is kind of what I imagine this ship looking like. Oh yeah, okay. I could see this.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily, it's not explicitly a toilet bowl, but I felt like it kind of looked like a toilet bowl.
Yeah. Did y'all look up actual US Navy World War II era troughs?
No.
Here, I'll post some images. So here's like a modern ship's toilet trough situation.
Sure. Yeah, I've toured a couple of, every now and then you find a city that has like a battleship, and this is kind of what it looks like.
But there are also some that do in fact include, as is popularly described here, the red VD seat, that if you have venereal disease or some other sexually transmitted disease, you use that toilet seat instead of one of the others.
Wow.
They were thinking of everything on these ships.
They had Pig Bodine out there.
I feel like sex ed has been telling us for years that you can't catch STDs from the toilet seat. Have they been spreading misinformation?
I have no idea.
I think that is probably most likely true. Albeit, I guess if you like sat down and, bodily fluid, then you could. But I don't know if they knew that for sure so much in the 1940s. Like, that's probably a more cutting edge development. And also, it's probably easier just to like, you don't, it's better than explaining to everyone that it's safe. Just be like,
Yeah, I think it may or may not be. I can't tell how much of this because there's like a couple pictures of this floating around on the internet, and I just assumed that maybe it was something that the internet came up with until Thomas Pynchon also referenced the VD seat in the book, and then I was like, I guess.
Oh no, I've in Wilmington. I think there's one. I think you can tour the bathrooms on the battleship North Carolina, and they had a
the red
VD
seat?
seat when I was there.
Wow. God, I bet that's a tour guide highlight every time.
For sure.
So we are introduced to the toilet ship as part of the triumph of German mania for subdividing. And I liked this sort of research presentation that just seems like total nonsense of like the house is organic and the ship is like a house. And so this ship is like a bathroom that's organic.
I spent some time trying to make sense of that, and I just like couldn't make heads or tails.
Yeah, and I was more on the side that there was in fact a toilet ship. The sort of idea that you'd have a naval armada at sea, and you would have also like, you know, you'd have your battleship and your cruisers and your destroyer and like a submarine escort, and then a toilet ship kind of chugging up behind where people were often being ferried on and off. The logistics was really, I was attuned into.
It almost kind of makes sense, you know? Like planes have refueling planes that like fly up next to the planes, and they get the little refueling tube for like jets and stuff. You could have
armies like on the ground almost certainly have
latrines,
something to this effect, like like mobile latrine unit setups,
a kind of portable potty, if you will. We also get sort of kind of introduced to Charles and Steve, who are our General Electric inspectors, who will be or have or may never have walked through the ship to determine its feasibility for, I guess, U.S. research and development.
Page 456, still getting new characters.
I don't know that we're seeing Charles and Steve again.
Well, no, but there's another new character, our interrogator.
Interrogatee.
The interrogatee, yes. The interrogated.
We could see Charles and Steve again. Side character.
That's true,
shows up.
If anyone. I do like the sort of existential crisis that Steve is having about what does GE want me to be?
I thought that was funny too.
I liked that Charles was just writing general notes, not so much about the ship, but just about his own sort of neuroses.
Steve has got a hot wife who kind of looks like Rita Hayworth.
Good for Steve.
Good for Steve.
It's a song about mosquitoes.
Yeah, Buffalo Bayou is in Texas, I think. Yep, it's a river in Texas. Is that where General Electric is headquartered? I have no idea. No, that's New York. They were founded. Never mind. Schenectady.
That's where these guys are from.
That would make sense.
They're fellows from Schenectady.
But maybe one of them's from Texas.
Or Sheila's from Texas.
Could be. Andrew, can you explain the humor of this equation?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty funny.
I thought this was pretty funny too.
All right. Hey, well, I thought that the tonic-to-tonic thing was very funny. So please, illuminate me with your math humor.
So the indefinite integral of 1 over cabin d-cabin is equal to the log of cabin plus c. So Patrick, if you remember, when you when you derivate, you lose information on constants. So when you integrate, you need to add a plus C, which stands for like a constant that you have lost
Okay.
previously through derivating. And obviously C
Sounds like
like CSEA. And so a log cabin on the ocean is a houseboat.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Although I want to say if you actually take the indefinite integral of 1 over a variable, it's the log natural maybe of the variable. I looked this up to make sure this was right. And they said
Well,
log natural.
It's
but
just a natural log
it's
cabin.
worth
It's just a
the
natural houseboat.
log cabin. Yeah, it's a good
It's
still a
an
good joke.
organic houseboat.
It is an organic
It's
house.
funny.
Yeah.
I do, Duri, perhaps the next time you're on campus, you can go over to the math wing and write this in a stall.
That'd be pretty good. I'll try to make that happen.
Put it in the stall of the math building, and also write it in the stall of the English building, and see which one
gets more traction.
Nice Gravity's Rainbow reference. I myself drew a Tristero horn in the bathroom one time.
Patrick, did you draw a Tristero horn in a room at my office building?
Yeah, I did.
I found it recently.
I did. The two things I draw are the Tar Heel symbol with the foot and the Tristero horn. Sometimes a Kilroy, which I drew well before reading V. So that one's not really a reference. I just think he's a funny guy. Where are we? So we've got the latrines.
We go into the officers' latrines.
Yeah, done in red velvet.
Yeah, they got a lot going on in the officers' latrines. They've got toilet paper that has caricatures, and if there's someone that you specifically want drawn on your toilet paper, they have a staff caricaturist who can do that for you.
They got horrible disasters in German naval history are plastered over some of the walls. I guess
to make sure. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was going to say, I guess to scare the shit out of you. I assume that's what's happening.
Okay, so I took that differently.
How did you take this?
I took that like the officers were like, that was what they found to be like good entertainment while on the toilet. I'm trying to find, there was a line.
Well, they have their own peep shows too, Duri.
That's true. Where is that?
Are you looking at the top of 458?
Yeah, like collisions, magazine explosions, U-boat sinkings, just the thing if you're an officer trying to use the restroom. Which, I don't know, I feel like I kind of took that as like, what do officers find interesting? Like,
they're big nerds, and this is what they want to read about.
Yeah. I
could see it
thought it
both
was
ways.
kind of funny. I took that as like, a weatherman like would love to read about like terrible tornadoes of the century while using the restroom, I would imagine.
Yeah, I could see that both ways.
They've also got photographs of Hitler, quote, at various forms of play.
That was
so you
funny.
know, so you remember who you're fighting for. It's a real "this is for him."
It's the shirtless Putin photo shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Equestrian Hitler.
the
Badminton Hitler.
The toilet paper is covered in caricatures of Allied leaders.
The idea being that the people who are like permanently stationed on the ship have their own stalls with one-way mirrors, so they can just like hang out in their stalls and watch all of the excitement from the other stalls. I thought was kind of fun.
So the whole boat is kind of like a peep show.
Yeah, and everything is covered in mirrors.
Mirror space. Reminded me of Mirror Time.
There's some guys who think it's really funny to, and this feels, I've not been in the Navy. Could I imagine this happening in the Navy? It sure sounds kind of funny if you like light toilet paper on fire and then just like send it down the trough. Sort of.
It's pretty funny.
It sounds funny.
There were also a couple guys that routed the waistlines into the ventilation system in what felt like an extremely German pig Bodine stunt.
Also hilarious.
Great adjective of scatotechnic. Some real scatotechnological engineering going on here.
And they were sent to the Arctic.
Yeah.
Visu. Anyone?
Visu.
That was in the Antarctic, Duri.
Yeah, that was the Antarctic, Duri. That's true.
Whoa.
Two things that I often forget are different.
Do you think the Arctic exclusively refers to the Northern Arctic?
Well, the other one is the Antarctic.
I guess so.
It's the opposite of the
I
Arctic.
hadn't really thought of that. I guess I just thought that they were both Arctic places. Because I don't really know what the word Arctic means.
Means
I just kind of thought it always meant like cold,
around the North Pole.
snowy place.
I mean, I think it means cold metaphorically as a synecdoche, maybe.
But like geographically.
I always sort of assumed it was just the name given by Europeans sort of to an area.
Is it like
And
Arcturus?
there
Isn't
happened
that
to be...
the north wind, Arcturus?
Okay, yeah, from the Greek Arcticos, northern, which
Yeah.
derives from
Interesting.
Arctos, bear. Okay, so it just means north, and then I guess Antarctic is the opposite of north.
The more you know. This is why you listen to Pynchon Pals. We talk about German adjectives and Greek roots. And then we, at long last, meet our perspective character.
Horst. Ochtvaden.
He is in the Chief's Head. Did we talk about the peep shows? There's a bunch of peep shows all around because I guess while you're in the bathroom on the toilet ship, you need to accommodate all possible functions that may need to take place in the naval bathrooms. So why not? But the peep shows are divided into the officer and enlisted peep shows, and the higher your rank, the more
Or
voluptuous and
blonde and... Yeah, I think on the first page, it says you'll find the older, less glamorous, un-Teutonic-looking women in the enlisted men's machines. The real stacked and more racially golden tomatoes go off to the officers, natürlich. This is some of the Nazi fanaticism.
Mm-hmm. Horst has watched Gerda and her fur boa go at it 178 times.
He jimmied the coin box.
Ingenious. Shout out to Port Arthur, which you mentioned on a previous episode, Andrew.
Oh, yes. We get a lot about 1904 here. In
Not
classic Thomas Pynchon, it seems like he's like, wow, a bunch of things happened in 1904. Plot point.
You know this guy loves the Wikipedia pages of just particular years where he's just like, what happened in 1861?
That feels like a very encyclopedia, like old school encyclopedia thing.
Yeah.
Wikipedia has saved him hours and hours at the local library looking through encyclopedias.
We do get like a Pynchon reflection on history.
Yeah, which I want to get into, because there's a recurring metaphor of like wind and vacuums, and I wanted to point out specifically this Ludwig Prandtl, who proposes the boundary layer. The companion notes, as Theodore von Karman explains it, quote, Prandtl ingeniously assumed that the total effect of friction on any part of the airplane can be estimated by the trick of restricting the investigation of the forces to a thin sheet of air close to the surface, which he called the boundary layer, which felt kind of resonant with all of the sort of psychologies of our characters throughout this book that there's, I mean, this is the kind of cortex, the interface that Ned Pointsman is talking about to some extent. It's the borderline where it crosses over from the exterior to the interior. But
Didn't we talk boundary layers a little bit earlier in one of the V2 engineering
we might
sections?
have. Yeah.
I feel like there's a thing about the boundary layer earlier on.
I didn't look it up before, but I also thought it was kind of a cool, I guess, engineering concept. Like, you really just need to pay attention to this part of the air. What were you going to say about history, Duri?
Oh, just the line that if tensor analysis is good enough for turbulence, it ought to be good enough for history. There ought to be nodes, critical points. There ought to be super derivatives of the crowded and insatiate flow that can be set equal to zero, and these critical points found, 1904 was one of them. Kind of reminded me of some of the stuff from V about like history as a sine wave and like certain years being like a year for like flipping and flopping.
I was also a big fan of this section. The idea of history with critical points is interesting.
What is a critical point?
When you flip directions.
Oh,
Like
So
a-
you take if you took like a curve, like an acceleration curve, and found the derivative, and then looked for where the derivative is zero. That's where you've like turned around.
Interesting.
So like the top of a parabola.
Yeah, I think we talked about how the Brinchlus point isn't actually the top of the parabola, but it is in this book probably.
Yeah, I
Thomas
feel like
Pynchon's
Pynchon's
Brinchlus
playing a
point.
little loose with that one.
Yeah, is the critical point. Yeah, I like this theory here that Professor Wagner of Darmstadt predicts that above Mach 5, the air would liquefy. It's like a fun prediction. Just like, here's what I think is going to happen. I think the air is going to turn to liquid.
I feel like it's a good example of how sometimes people in pursuit of science try some things that could have some like very wild and bad consequences. And they're like, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
As dramatized in Chris Nolan's Oppenheimer. Did y'all look up the Gomerian whistle language?
No, I think I skimmed a little here. Let's see on this next page. I'm not sure. This whole bit, yeah. Start talking about coefficients, and I think I lost the thread for a minute.
Yeah, this is the island is La Gomera off of the Canary Islands. And this is a reference to, I mean, I think this crops up in a few different places in the world, but like doing a whistling language over long distances just seems to be kind of like a reminiscence that this guy at one point was touring through it. And it, I guess, connects us back to our themes of colonization and imperial expansion as well.
Here we get that paragraph that I feel like you and I both already quoted, Patrick, about how guilt is very fashionable and tourists will be coming to extermination camps. Foreigners with cameras will come piling through in droves, tickled and shivering with guilt.
There'll be bars and nightclubs catering especially to guilt enthusiasts. What do they call that? There's like a term now.
Poverty porn?
Guilt enthusiast?
Yeah, or I feel like it came about with people criticizing like the sort of Vice documentary.
It was
the,
like tragedy porn or something.
There's that dark tourism. That's
Dark
what I'm
tourism.
thinking of. Yeah. Dark tourism. Some people call it thanatotourism, grief tourism, which I guess, yeah, by the time this book is written, like, is probably already sort of spinning up as a kind of industry in the 70s and into the 80s.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Margarita. A bit of like, there's real victims, but she's kind of making herself a victim, and then we have these, like, there's very real things to feel guilty about, but they're like taking pleasure in the guilt.
Is Ochtfaden taking pleasure in the guilt here? Perhaps not. He says that really he was only responsible like when it was going up. At some point, once it starts going down, that's all Guidance's problems. It's not he's not determining like where it hits.
Oh yeah, he really ties himself in some knots to kind of explain how he's not guilty. He's like, well, some typewriters in Whitehall in the Pentagon killed more civilians than our little rocket.
He's like talking to reflections of himself in the Hall of Mirrors.
Facts about the typewriter thing, though. That doesn't mean he's not also a murderer, but he's just not the biggest one of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked this line. You are either alone, absolutely alone with your own death, or you take part in the larger enterprise and you share in the deaths of others. Are we not all one?
Well, this is our sort of like archery Zen master at Peenemünde again. The guy who seems inspired by the other German archery author that I mentioned last time we spoke. Y'all may not remember this. I'm editing that episode right now, so it's fresh on my mind. But this is the guy who, that's why he's talking about it being half bullet, half arrow, and he's sitting in full lotus position, staring into the setting sun. Then it gets taken away by the SS.
And is he also, sorry, I don't remember this, reflecting on complicity in the deaths of others?
He's the guy who talks about how, like the sort of Zen Japanese arrow kyudo, like you have to surrender to the motion of the bow and the arrow. Like you remove yourself from the system instead of like aiming and
so
releasing.
You're either part of the system and you're complicit, or you have to remove yourself entirely.
Yeah. You
That
let,
feels like
you let the arrow do what the arrow does.
Feels like the paranoia, anti-paranoia cycle as well. That like either you're disconnected from everything or everything is tied together and is complicit.
Yeah. They continue their conversation here with a koan of what is it that flies? Los? Which I've seen translated as fate in German, I think. Yeah, Weisenberger says los means fate. In a contrary and literal sense, it also means free.
Interesting.
Fate flies free.
We then get like a cut to the interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to what we got with Slothrop and the toilet dream. I mean, that's part of what leads up to the Los.
Oh yeah, I guess that's the interrogators breaking in, sort of mixed in with his reminiscences of the Zen archer Faringer. I didn't really catch that. Good point. I don't know exactly what's happening in this cockpit of the airplane at some point that's like flying over the rivers.
There's a thunderstorm. This is the second thunderstorm we had in this sequence. It starts off with a thunderstorm in Berlin, and then he's at a thunderstorm, like flying up to a thunder. Like this cockpit is, he's like in a cockpit looking for a thunderstorm. He flies up to the thunderstorm and like he talks about the interface again.
Mm-hmm.
That like at the interface of the storm, the air is going to be rising. I also was thinking about, because we've had several large thunderstorms recently.
Indeed.
Does no one recognize what enslavement gravity is till he reaches the interface of the thunder?
Gravity and conditioning.
That felt like a impactful line.
Is he in a plane or is he in a V2?
I'm not sure, because it says cockpit, which a V2...
Yeah, it doesn't have like wouldn't have a cockpit, but like if you were inside the rocket is where you are now, that just the cockpit.
Yeah, I was wondering that, or whether this was one of the like the planes that like dropped the scale models. Didn't they talk about that?
Oh,
They like
yeah,
took up the
sure.
scale models in planes. So
Mhm.
somebody, I guess, at Peenemünde was up in a plane. It would make sense that maybe the aerodynamicist might be one of those guys. I wonder if side character in a side chapter Bert Feibel might show up again. We shall see.
I like I'm picturing the song to like kind of like a beating drum, like under through the thunder. That's the song that's playing through his head as he flies up to this storm.
Then Enzian and Andreas show up.
Yeah, it turns out they're the interrogators.
Yeah. He's not giving anybody up. Duri, would you like to reveal the Mabuza connection here?
Yeah, so
You turned to me at one point when you were reading this and you're like, it's good that we're watching the Dr. Mabuza movie.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to reveal here, but there was a reference to Dr. Mabuza in the text. So he's basically, Oktfaden is trying to answer their questions, but keeps saying he doesn't really remember, and kind of reveals that he was one of the members of the team that met with Lieutenant, or I guess now Major Weissman, when he called in Polkler as well, to where everyone was like given a very specific part of the Quintuple Zero rocket to work on.
Like Skunk Works project.
Skunk Works?
Yeah, it's like a engineering project you do sort of like in secret at a company. I think that's right.
Never
Is
heard
right,
that
Andrew?
word before. Cool.
Never heard the term, but
Now I'm
seems
gonna
reasonable.
Anyways, so the Enzian's trying to get out of Oktfaden, who else worked on this project. They're trying to get names. And Oktfaden says, no one used real names. We were given code names. Characters from a movie, somebody said. The other aerodynamics people were Spory and Hawash. I was called Vink. And I was like, characters from a movie? I bet that's a real movie. So I Googled these names, and it turns out they're the henchmen in one of the Dr. Mabuza movies.
The first one, I think. The silent one, which we're not watching because it's like 4 hours long.
Yeah. So that I don't have anything deeper to say about that, except that
Weissman's a fan of the movie. This may reveal something about Weissman when we watch the movie.
Yes. Yeah. I guess if he delivered these names, he's a fan of Dr. Mabuza.
Somewhat related, I found out that Skunk Works, the term originated with Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, which was their, according to Wikipedia, highly classified internal research and development group.
Interesting.
So other people started calling their small internal R&D teams Skunk Works. So Oktfaden is sort of loosely trying to be like, I don't know anything. I don't even know the weight of the device. You know, you should really talk to guidance. And then I found it interesting that it's implied that he says it in such a way that he means someone specific, as rendered by the capital G. So they ask, like, why'd you say that? And then he's like, well, I mean, could mean anybody
Guidance,
associated
propulsion.
with guidance. And they're like, no, there's a guy. And he gives up the guy.
Yeah, he does. He caves.
Is Klaus Nerisch? He's new. This is the first time we've heard about this guy, right?
Believe
We have
so.
not heard of him. Yeah.
Okay. I was
Racking your brain
afraid
for Klaus.
I was afraid to Google it if we knew Klaus, because I was afraid I'd spoil something for myself. But I was like, we've met a bunch of random German guys.
Yeah. This interesting little, speaking of like messy desks and whatnot, the sort of like office towards the end of the war with everything is sort of a husk of itself, and we find the one engineer who may very well be Klaus, presumably, who is like, I'm not going to go to the Americans. I just want to be done with all of this.
Yeah, I like that it would only just keep on the same way. Boy, did he know.
At which point, Oktfaden leaves the toilet ship.
Does he get sort of flushed down the toilet ship?
How else do you leave?
That's true, yeah. There's only one way out. I'm always happy to see the Schwarz Commando. I'm still curious to see what their big plans are.
I feel pretty confident we'll be getting more of them. I feel less confident that we'll be seeing Roger and Jessica again.
Oh, they're coming back.
They gotta
Isn't the
come
last section of this book called like Everyone Comes Back?
Back in London.
Maybe. All right. Shall we move to our final sequence for this evening?
And
Yeah,
a
let's go
final
back.
sequence it is.
Sequence 3.14. Slothrop and Greta take a barge toward Svinemunda, where he hopes to follow up on Gailey's tip about the Schwarzgerat, and she hopes to rendezvous with her daughter Bianca aboard a yacht fleeing communist Poland. At Bad Karma, a near-abandoned spa village, Greta flees from a mysterious smiling woman in black. When she re-encounters Slothrop at a cafe, it's just as the Anubis, that very yacht, is floating by. The yachters sweep her aboard and leave Slothrop to inelegantly stow away at the cost of his Rocketman attire. He is luckily, or maybe not, rescued and clothed in evening wear by Stefania Prokalowska, whose husband, Antoni, owns the ship and sponsors its unending orgy. Also aboard are Carol, a film producer keen on exploiting Bianca, and Greta's husband, though not Bianca's father, Miklos Thanats, with whom she staged sexual theater for SS troops across concentration camps and rocket sites. Slothrop overhears a conversation about Greta's relationship with IG salesman Vimpa and IG pharmaceutical Onerine before meeting Thanats and hearing about this weirdo he met back in Holland calling himself Blacero. Greta and Bianca take to the stage for a deeply unsettling spectacle, and Slothrop feels an immediate sexual attraction to the 11 or 12-year-old girl, as the whole deck, save for one Japanese ex-liaison to Berlin, is incited to raucous sex.
I feel like we talked about on the last episode how it was a nice, refreshing change of pace to have this Lenny Pokler episode be like one 40-page chunk and not broken up into a bunch of smaller chunks.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the Sloth of Greta thing would have been better because it's just sort of as it is broken up by like 10 random pages about the toilet ship. And I think one long continuous get Slothrop and Greta's arc out of the way probably would have been better.
Yeah, I did feel like we had a rhythm going that got kind of broken, and then it was like, up, and we're back in it with Slothrop.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even if it's a weird sequence where we get the Slothrop chapter, like the toilet ship chapter almost would make a fitting coda to the Franz Pokler chapter, that they're both about ex-rocket engineers, but maybe it's like slightly too close in terms of, setting and what's happening.
I think if we'd gone straight from one into the other, that would have been a little exhausting. But I guess I don't know what the next section is. But perhaps, these two Slothrop and Margarita sections, and then ending with, like, as one longer section, and then ending with the toilet ship.
I think
and
we're in with Slothrop and Margarita for a little while longer. I peeped ahead a little bit.
She
peeped.
Yep. Speaking of peeping, I feel like we get some more of that Thomas Pynchon, great descriptor of ordinary things in the first paragraph here. We have another descriptor of the sky as the color of wet cement, and describes the night as a peepers and frogs night, which I feel like really captures like a summer night.
Yeah, this floating down the barge with the barge and like willows lining the banks felt very like Huck Finn.
Yeah, I liked talking about the Russian demolition crews having to blast through everything that's stuck in the river, but they can summon like Dreamer's draft shallow enough to clear whatever the war has left in their way. Just sort of an unnatural ability to just never run aground is sort of a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I feel like we start to get some magic in this section. Things start to feel a little supernatural.
Oniric? Dreamlike? I did not catch that bod karma. I mean, I caught bad karma as like
yeah, I
bad
thought that was
karma.
just a joke.
No,
Yeah.
bod is like a German word, or like is often in like spa town names. I think
Oh,
it means like
really?
spa or something. So
That's
this is
funny.
like
Yeah,
spa
I think
karma.
it's bath.
Bath, yeah.
Oh,
So it's bod karma.
that's funny.
It's something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best pun in the book, but I dig it.
Yeah, the best pun in the book was the Teutonic dominant.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, the best pun in the book is clearly, at this rate, Tamara's coming tonight.
This smiling woman.
This was weird.
Oh, she gave me
The-
the Wiggins.
Seeing this creepy lady, Margarita runs off somewhere, and then when Slothrop goes up to her, she's just a normal lady standing there in black.
To be fair, she was smiling kind of creepily.
She knows them.
Is this V? What if this is V? What if this is the
Wow.
bad priest?
Maybe.
This could be
Ugh.
the bad priest. It couldn't be. I think
Isn't-
the bad
isn't
priest
the bad priest
is
dead?
gone. Yeah.
Just say the smile growing confident in the very white face, all the malaise of a Europe dead and gone gathered here. Ooh. You know, another in a line of creepy faces we've encountered.
Mm-hmm. This is another, I felt like one of your mask-like
Exactly.
faces.
Yeah. The face is changing. Like she kind of put her mask back on.
Mm-hmm. Slothrop has never been more elegant than going, "What's the big idea, lady?" It's the best he can manage.
This is the line. So he says, Greta is nowhere in sight. Later, he will figure it out where it was she went. By then, they will be well on board the Anubis, and it will only make him feel more helpless. That was the line that made me think that maybe Greta was drugging him or
Okay.
in some way in cahoots with some larger force that's trying to manipulate Slothrop.
Yeah, because this is not explained
No.
in this section.
No, I mean, it becomes clear that Margarita has some ulterior motives and backstory that Slothrop was very much not aware of, but we don't get an explanation of where exactly she went during this interim period.
I think if Slothrop would simply ask a couple of personal questions before sleeping with someone, he would avoid a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I don't think he can. Like, I think that like he's compelled.
It seems like it.
Do you think he knows he's allowed to ask questions?
Yeah, and then she like reappears later in the day. They're at a cafe, and I read this very closely because I was trying to figure out if she had like drugged his soup or
Put it on
his
the list.
beer.
Spätzle and soup.
Mhm.
Spätzle and soup. I thought it was so funny that he very quickly gives up looking for his girlfriend. Is like, well,
Just have some
they're
soup.
serving Spätzle at the cafe.
He's just like, "Hey, does anybody want to buy like 1/16 of an ounce of hashish so I can buy some
I'll trade you
Spätzle?"
some hashish for Spätzle, please. And
Yeah,
then she
I totally did not catch that line about the future that he'll figure out where it was she went.
I feel like that's like one of those lines that like gives you a little shiver of like, ooh, what's afoot?
We get a very Thomas Pynchon cinematic cut when Margarita shows back up. What does it say? It says when she materializes, it is a shy fade-in, as Gerhard von Gerl must have brought her on a time or two. I sort of like that as they did this all just kind of sitting there and just sort of finally notices that she's come into view in his periphery.
The line about not moving so much as Slothrop's own vantage, swooping to her silent close-up.
Feels very like Casablanca or something.
Yeah, or Sunset Boulevard.
Or that one good shot in the new Wuthering Heights where what's his name is standing in the fog that is slowly parted. Jacob Elordi. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know who you're talking about. Yeah, not at all suspiciously. She's like, I don't really remember that woman. By the way, my daughter's on a boat. It's just down the river there.
Here it comes now.
And like, why is Slothrop not having some alarm bells ring? Like, this is super weird.
He's trying to get to Swinemunda.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. Like, this woman he's
When-
with, like, just
when
like
is it-
happens to know that her child's on this boat.
When has an alarm bell ever rung in the head of a Thomas Pynchon protagonist? I mean, to be fair, Duri, it seems like a recognizable boat. Like, once you see it, you're like, oh, there's the Anubis. Bianca's on board. Surely. All my
That's
friends
fair.
are on board.
That's true. It does seem like all her friends are on board.
Yeah. And they drink 2 cups of acorn coffee, which I also was wondering if those were drugged.
Yeah.
A lot of
Really
beverages.
seems more like a tea at that point that you're soaking acorns, but
You know, you make do in wartime.
you do. I'm just saying I don't know that it's coffee, but maybe I'm misinformed.
You grind it up, you run the water through it.
Yeah, that's true. This is a hell of a boat, the Anubis. Nearly the color of mist, a gilded winged jackal under the bowsprit.
Do you want to tell us about Anubis?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, you brought him up.
Well, I don't know. Your summary indicated, it was that yacht.
Oh, I just meant that it is the yacht that Greta was talking about earlier.
Oh, well, Anubis is the Egyptian god of funerary rites. In a very sort of like Hades-esque way. He's like your guide to the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
So ostensibly, and a jackal. Anubis is a jackal.
Strand wolf.
I thought of the strand wolf as well. And so they're essentially like sailing off to hell was the vibe I got.
Yeah. Egyptian, I guess should say. Did you say Egyptian?
Yeah.
He's the Egyptian god that you think of when you think of Egyptian gods.
That's sort of raw
Ra
disrespect.
gets in then. Look, I'd say 30% Ra, 70% Anubis.
Yeah, so is he is Anubis is also how you get to the afterlife? Is he also kind of like Charon, the ferryman kind of deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was at least, that was my very brief reading on this, but that was kind of the vibe I was getting.
Okay, that seems right.
He's like ferrying you to the underworld.
Yeah, this is a moving village that's just like sailing around the lowlands. They get Margarita gets right on up. Slothrop does not.
Pull the gangplank on him. He
So
falls in the
mean.
water. He starts to drown.
And he loses his Rocketman outfit.
No more Rocketman. Rocketman met his match, and it was swimming.
I feel like this is just like him losing his Hawaiian shirt all over again.
Do you know what this reminded me of?
What?
So he drops his helmet because he starts to drown because it's too heavy. And then his cape starts to get him sucked into the prop of the boat. And all I could think of is The Incredibles when the superhero gets sucked into the jet from the plane and the lady is like, no capes.
Is there a Rocketman in The Incredibles? I could see in that monologue that she gives going like, Rocketman sucked into a boat.
That would have been the craziest reference.
Wow. A lot
That'd
of
be awesome.
a lot of Pixar talk on tonight's episode. Go see Toy Story 5 streaming now on Disney Plus. Don't do that. Or don't do it because we told you to, I guess. I was also thinking, Duri, you reminded me of this, that one of the last times we saw Slothrop kind of lose all of his clothes was when he was climbing up that tree and fell out of the tree naked into the croquet game
I feel like pivotal moments in Slothrop's life are very much marked by his clothing changes.
But he gets made fun of by two ladies who were playing
Yeah.
croquet.
You're so
and
right.
I was like, these are the same two ladies, probably.
Probably so.
Every time he gets naked, there's two upper class women who heckle him.
Who are just like, ho, ho, ho. This fucking loser. I say. Yeah, I was like, these are my paranoid fiction is that these are the exact same two ladies who were at the Riviera.
Well, he does hypothesize later on that maybe this is sort of an extension of the same party that he attended back in the Riviera where there were the tanks.
Yep. Several really funny bits here that with no further explanation, one of them has produced a huge meat cleaver. As if it's just kind of lying around on the deck.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Or she had one with her.
given
Yeah.
some of the other things that are lying around on deck.
But then we get, what is the scene? What Marilyn Monroe movie is it where she tries to like sneak out of a bedroom onto a ship and she like kind of like measures her hips and sees if they can fit through the porthole, and then she kind of gets stuck in the porthole, and then like a little kid comes by and is like, "Hi, Marilyn Monroe," or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's in some Marilyn Monroe comedy where she gets stuck in a porthole.
Is it the Gentlemen Prefer Blondes?
It might be Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. But it's what I thought of when Slothrop is rescued and sort of slid into the porthole by a woman with very fine cheekbones.
Stefania.
Who's basically just like, yeah, my husband owns this boat. Get cleaned up, join the party.
Very
Welcome
the
aboard.
master.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
very the master.
No, I thought of that as well. And I feel like actually, Andrew, that is part of what led me to my thoughts about Slothrop just
Being
sort
drugged?
of like, well,
Oh.
being drugged, but also like just sort of falling into whatever like wild and crazy boat he stumbles onto. I feel like the master just, or not the master, what was his name?
Freddie Quell.
Freddie Quell just sort of stumbled onto that boat and then like rolled with the crazy stuff that was going on that boat.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very much the same thing that Slothrop does here is like, he didn't really mean to get on this boat, but he's on it and he's not going to question anything that's happening.
Well, he doesn't want to be stuck in this sad spa town with creepy women.
I guess not, but I don't know, this boat seems like a much better vibe.
Oh, it's much worse.
At least there was Spetzel at the spa town.
Yeah, there was. So it really seemed like a soup kind of boat.
I feel like they might not have anything but alcohol,
That's not true. They also have drugs.
drugs, and alcohol. We
Stefani-
get a little like goss on Margarita.
Yeah, I was going to say some much needed exposition.
We find out that she's married here. And also a little bit more about Bianca's conception.
Yeah, which is a little bit less straightforward than Margarita maybe led us to believe.
Yeah, that there was some sort of cut footage from the Alpdrucken movie. And it's a little, I wouldn't say it's a Mamma Mia situation. But here we go
Jesus
again.
Christ.
Oh, God.
Ooh. Von Girl does not seem like a very ethical director. And I think we should have known this at the time when he was casting the White Visitation in blackface, that perhaps he was problematic. There were some signs, but it's increasingly clear that he's a really strange guy.
This description of the jackal men with the black hoods are once again an animal mask.
Very
Feels
Anubis.
very Anubis, also very like
This is the dream that Slothrop had of the poem.
what?
Good point.
These are animals who arrive to sort of like ravish a woman.
Interesting.
Like they're in, because they're jackalmen, yeah, but they're not necessarily all wearing jackal masks, because some of them wear Black Hood or an animal mask. So when you were coming up with this hypothesis, I was very much like, oh yeah, this is Slothrop has like psychically internalized this dream without realizing it, seemingly from Margarita's actual past.
Interesting. I wonder if this is what she's kind of picturing in the mirror.
Could be.
Of like them descending on her.
Oh yeah, the them who are in the yeah.
Yeah. Like if she's having a flashback to this. I was just going to say it felt very like Secret Society vibes.
We're always bringing up Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, it feels very Eyes Wide Shut. This whole boat feels very Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, we are really back in the Casino Hermann Goring for a little while here. Except the
Foppel's mansion.
The Casino Hermann Goring was more fun, at the casino at least. It's when you get to the parties on the outskirts of the Riviera that things start getting really weird.
You hate to see a party coming in Thomas Pynchon, especially if there's a bunch of rich people at it.
Do you think that Zaura is the one who spiked the Hollandaise at what's-his-name's party in the Riviera?
Maybe.
I don't think Zaura's getting outside of Berlin. I think he's too high.
But maybe his hashish is what got it spiked it
His
with,
hashish travels far and wide.
Yeah. We meet Thanat, and here's something fun that I didn't notice. Do you remember when Ned Pointsmith was thinking about the prized Nazi dog?
Yes.
You remember that? Do you remember the name of the prized Nazi dog?
Miklos Thanats.
It was precisely Reichsieger von Thanats Alpdrucken.
Interesting.
Wow.
Well, that was a pull.
I want to be clear, I did not pull this, but the companion pulled this, that these two names have been associated, I guess, with Ned Pointsman in the past.
Interesting.
That's a real second read Easter egg.
We learned that Margarita and Thanats have been sort of performing their kind of sadomasochistic routine for SS troops.
Yeah, a little touring show for the boys on the front.
Or at the concentration camps.
The barbed wire circuit is a wild phrase.
Yeah. Start to have a lot of questions about Margarita.
Margarita, her friends.
She's starting to seem worse and worse. If we'd been giving her the benefit of the doubt, I feel like she's losing it at this juncture.
Very good Slothropian line of the hand of Providence creeps among the stars, giving Slothrop the finger.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we hit this party? Slothrop's dolled up. He's in his evening best. He looks good. He's shaved.
There's this fun opening song.
Welcome aboard, G. It's a fabulous orgy.
I actually like this song.
This is one of the better songs.
I kind of like the Skeeter song.
The which one? Oh, the mosquitoes.
The mosquito one.
People are already having sex on the periphery of this party.
When people are like, you're entering the party and it's not like it's not even late. This is real like Fopple 24-hour, like the party hasn't stopped.
And
the party will not stop.
I wrote next to this song, Fopple's Mansion vibes, boat in the master.
Yeah.
Fopple's houseboat?
Fopple's houseboat. Oh, I guess we were just talking about houseboats. Wow.
Yeah. Slothrop gets a glimpse here of Bianca, quote unquote, knockout at 11 or 12.
Yeah, this part was where I also, and again, maybe I'm just giving Slothrop too much of the benefit of the doubt here, but he describes Bianca and then says, "Help, help. Why do these things have to keep coming down on him?" He can see the obit now in Time magazine, died Rocketman pushing 30 in the zone of lust. And the way that was phrased, like, I couldn't tell if he was just like, oh no.
Not another beauty.
Not another beauty. Or if he was genuinely like, I don't want to be attracted to this girl. What's happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That was one of the things that made me, I was kind of wondering if like this was part of his conditioning.
I think that's a fair ask.
We'll have to find out, unfortunately.
Can you believe Slothrop's not 30?
That's crazy. Crazy.
It's like, maybe it's just because I'm 30, but I just kept imagining this guy. Like, surely he's been at this a little while, but I don't know.
I mean,
28, 29.
If he's enlisted at the beginning of the war, 5 years in.
Yeah. But I guess also if he, he went to college, so if he enlisted at 22, yeah, that sort of checks out. Speaking of ages, I'm not sure I can totally get to the bottom of this at this juncture, but I did want to mention it because it seems like it may be relevant.
Yeah.
The Weisenberger Companion cites an article, Doifwiesens, A Suspension Forever at the Hinge of Doubt, which I believe is available online. I'll link to it in the show notes. It seems to be a survey of like several things stretching across the entire novel, so spoiler alert for it, but I'll link it anyway in case this is a reread for you. It's the contention of this article and seemingly several others that Bianca must be closer to 16 or 17 years old at this point, based on, as far as I can tell, kind of skimming the article, and you might be able to put this together. If she was conceived during Margarita Erdmann's heyday, that would have been in the late 20s.
Well, she's older. This is what I was a little bit confused with. She's older than
Ilsa.
Ilsa, right? Like, that's the whole thing, is that she must have been conceived about a year before Ilsa. And we spend 6 or 7 years with Ilsa. And she was not a 4-year-old or something when we meet. Like, when Ilsa comes to Peenemünde for the first time, she's not 4.
Yes. So this is the contention of the article. I
was confused. Because also when I first, this is maybe me being a bad reader, but when it says because that Bianca's a knockout, all right, 11 or 12, my first thought was this is her on a scale of 1 to 10. But like, no, she's a 12. And then later it was like, wait, no, she's 12 years old. And then I was like, how is she 12 if Ilsa was like a teenager, like definitely in her mid-teens by the end of that story? And then I just sort of I just assumed that I was confused and that Ilsa was way younger when she starts coming to Peenemünde, but I'm glad other people don't think that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, didn't we say that I forget the name of the drug, onorine, distorts time?
Yes, it is the stuff that Pig Bodine slips into the coffee urn on the Johnny Badass, and it messes with everybody's time perception.
And I wonder if that has something to do with Bianca's confused age.
Probably, especially if everybody's drugged.
And she's been on this boat for a while.
So yeah, like I said, I've not read the article. I'll link to it, but that is the major contingent, at least to this particular point, is that she must be at least as old as Ilsa. and Ilsa is well into her teens the last time we see her.
I would like to emphasize that it's still very problematic that Slothrop is
Definitely.
attracted to her.
Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't, at pushing 30, you shouldn't be attracted to 16-year-olds. Definitely not when they're, like, pretending to be 11 or 12. It just gets worse and worse for Slothrop, no matter what way you look at it.
Yeah, Slothrop is, like, losing his redeemability card.
Do we think Bianca's purposefully pretending? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
this
interesting.
is...
Yeah, if she's acting as an 11 or 12-year-old, I don't like that.
Because I think this gets into, like, and we'll get here, but this kind of gets into the Shirley Temple performance, and folks have written about this. There's when the Shirley Temple movies were premiering, there was a Graham Greene, the English writer, wrote like a review about a Shirley Temple movie and like described her in like a really sexualized kind of like, well, clearly this, coquettish girl is like sort of manipulating all of these men around her with her sexuality. And I think like the producers of Shirley Temple like sued the magazine that the review was published in. And so I think that is, if this is kind of like a performance of childishness from a girl who is at the very least somewhat older than she appears to be, that could be part of it.
We get some good description of the woman who had the meat cleaver.
Mm-hmm.
Her hair has been combed or styled in a way that it makes it look like a certain cut of meat, which I thought was very funny, but also kind of grotesque.
What kind of meat?
T-bone? Maybe she's got it like rolled up. I don't know. Like a beehive.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
A haunch.
Like a real rump roast.
Yeah. Big raw rump roast on her head.
I feel like there's some really... The description of the partygoers, which goes on for a while, I found very evocative.
It's kind of like that bit in The Great Gatsby, where there's a long description of partygoers. Obviously, this goes in some different places, but...
It also kind of reminded me of, certainly reminded us all of Fopple's Mansion, but the like grotesqueness of the partygoers, like the idea that her hair looks kind of like meat. And then I feel like there's a whole bunch of other descriptions of folks that are very grotesque. It kind of reminded me of, this is an obscure reference, but there's a children's book author, Tomi Ungerer, who wrote the children's book, The Three Robbers and Crictor.
Yes.
If you're familiar, there was an exhibit on him at a museum Patrick and I went to, and on like the top shelf at the museum, they were selling, he like had a series of art books before he got into writing children's literature that are like these really kind of graphic, grotesque illustrations of like wealthy people partying.
Yeah. You're
and
right.
I feel like that was just very much the imagery that was running through my head for all of this sequence.
I'll link to something I could find on that. That's a good pull. This is also where Slothrop's drink is nominally Irish whiskey and water. Could be
And other
something else.
people are having strange substances slipped in their drinks
Mm-hmm.
as well. And we get some more hot goss on Margarita.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing. We know that onerine is a substance, but it's like rendered here is very much like a proper noun, and like it's associated strongly with Vimpa Vemon, but it's also like described almost like onerine or Vimpas like fall from grace, like Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, as this happened to the day's light, he fell. A fall of hours, less extravagant than Lucifer's. But in the same way, part of a deliberate pattern, Greta was meant to find Onarine. Each plot carries its signature.
Well, this whole business with Greta and Neptune. And didn't you say Neptune was also kind of the figure in that poem?
Yes, I didn't connect that, but yeah, you're right.
What is Neptune's backstory?
God of the sea.
I see.
He's Poseidon in the Odyssey.
Okay. And so this says Greta lived most of the time on Neptune. They're back. I guess they're not really on the sea. They're sort of on a river.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Boat.
But it's also astrological. I don't know Neptune's association with astrology, but that's definitely come up
I
a
thought
lot in
this
this
whole
book.
thing was astrological. I was like, oh, we got Neptune. Onarine sounds kind of like a constellation. So does Chlorodyne. And then I was like, maybe I should Google these. And I was like, maybe this is less astrological than I was thinking.
Yeah, Slothrop at least helpfully on the next page provides it with Onarine, Yamph, Imipolex, A4.
Glad he's getting back to thinking about that stuff again.
Eyes on the prize.
Mm-hmm.
For those listeners who are Metal Gear Solid fans, this really felt like a Solid Snake intonation of Slothrop's to me. Onarine. Imipolex G.
Slothrop keeps meeting the sort of other partners of the women he's sleeping with. He met Chicharine after he slept with Gailey.
Yeah.
Now he's meeting Miklos Thanatos.
Thanatos from Greek death, Thanatos.
Oh, and he's drinking out of a souvenir stein with a, quote,
Hilarious.
bony and giggling death about to surprise two lovers in bed. Which felt very Roger and Jessica to me. And also Slothrop, like there was that scene where we thought death might be coming through the window when he was sleeping with
Dolores.
Dolores? Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think so.
I was going to call her Magda.
He gets Miklos to start talking about the A4.
Barely needs an excuse, which I found really funny.
It becomes very pornographic very quickly.
This is when we hear Miklos talks about some of the people he met on the rocket front. Gottfried and Blacaro,
Mm-hmm.
our good friends. Hadn't heard about Gottfried in a while.
And we get another German expressionist reference here to Wojciech, where as I looked it up, the opera version is spelled with the two Z's.
Yeah, which is about, is he an army
I feel like we've talked about Wojciech on this podcast
guy?
before.
We probably have. There's a good non-operatic film version directed by Werner Herzog, which was my first exposure. But we talked about it because you put on a play of it in high school.
Yeah, I was in what is increasingly seemed to be a stranger and stranger choice as I've gotten older. My freshman year of high school, I was in a high school production of Wojciech, which is thematically not a play you would expect to see in high school.
But it's about a military man who gets kind of manipulated into killing his on-again, off-again lover by sort of the powers that be, the bureaucracy, the captain in town. They describe Gottfried as a boy here, and I think we had this discussion when we first met Katja and Gottfried of what their respective ages are, but I'm increasingly certain at this point that Gottfried is literally a child. In the way that the German army was drafting literal children by the end of the war. I feel like that is increasingly the impression I'm getting about Gottfried, that when they say boy, they mean literally a child.
It couldn't just be because he's probably in some later hosen shorts. He's dressed like a child because he's doing a
Hansel and
sex
Gretel
thing with Blacaro.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just in the way that we're increasingly circling around this idea of, especially around Weissman and the sexualization of children,
I'm not
felt
sure we're circling around the idea, Patrick.
we're at the idea.
I feel it's being sort of thrust in our faces
I
repeatedly.
I couldn't remember. I thought we had that conversation at one point when we were reading it, and I was revising my understanding. Blacaro, on the other hand, is reverting to pre-Christianized pagan Germanicism. His eyes are rolling back into his head, violating the social contract. Speaking of sort of like Onarine's time manipulation, sort of like reversion back into prehistory seems like something that's going on here.
And then we get the very disturbing stage performance from Margarita and Bianca.
Which also, to your point, the last thing that Thenat says is, "Don't judge me, it is shameful. Throughout the whole terrible day I had an erection. It was out of my control. Everything was out of my control."
Yeah, well, and Slothrop seems like he's going to vomit.
Yes.
Like, he said pre-vomit saliva begins to gush into his mouth, along with a horrible doubt into his brain about how he is going to make it through the next few minutes. So I feel like, I don't know, and again, maybe I'm just giving him too much of the benefit of the doubt, but he seems to be feeling like a distinct sense of dread that this is going to be a bad situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that could be for a variety of reasons. That certainly doesn't absolve him of agency in the situation, but it does raise some questions. It doesn't seem like he wants to be in this situation necessarily.
No. Although that doesn't stop him from joining in.
Well, that's what I mean. I feel like it feels almost compulsory.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bianca sings On the Good Ship Lollipop, the Shirley Temple song.
But like a pig?
Complete with grunts. I went back, or I didn't go back. I went onto YouTube and watched the movie, like, version of the song. And in it, Shirley Temple, the song is about like being on a plane that is like made of candy. And I think the grunts here are when she kind of moans after singing a lyric about having a tummy ache, basically. She kind of makes like a sound.
Interesting.
Is what I assume the grunts here are. They weren't very grunt like. They're much closer to like a moan.
Yeah. I mean, I think clearly something that has not gone away in Hollywood is sort of the rampant sexualization of like child stars. I mean, you can look more recent example like Britney Spears or who did you watch a documentary about?
Brooke Shields.
Brooke Shields, yeah, recently had that documentary about her. So like, I think Pynchon is pointing a finger at a very real thing in terms of like the relationship between cinema and reality and performance and sexualization and exploitation of children and girls.
Yeah. Complete with a sort of stage mommy.
But again, this is the thing. It's like, is this part of the act?
This is part of the act. I feel like we even get the line.
Oh yeah, you bitch, spike heel ring on the steel deck. It's an act. Haven't you humiliated me enough?
Yeah. I feel like that's Slothrop realizing like, oh, what's playing out here is the same thing that played out in the apartment when I was with Margarita, was like she's sort of performing a excuse for violence.
It's that, but it's also, I think, you know, when you get to the skew matrix of pain that is on the like embossed ruler that's like digging into Bianca's flesh, which is really kind of bizarre, harrowing image, like much like our introduction to Margarita, like the pain is real.
Yeah. This scene, very disturbing, and also reminded me, I'm not going to remember her name, but of the girl in France in V.
Yeah, in the V in Love chapter.
Yeah, who was also tortured on stage.
And killed on stage.
She was killed, yeah. Bianca was not killed here, but...
Yeah, in a she was killed performing a play or a ballet about sort of ritualized sexual violence, which definitely feels like Pynchon is returning to that theme. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I think you're right.
And then everyone, very disturbingly, during this abuse that's occurring on stage, breaks out into sort of like a sex train. It's sort of like a conga line, but everyone's having sex with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie that I didn't think of the Lonely Island boombox song, where the boombox is so powerful that everybody on the dance floor suddenly starts having sex. Really does feel like a switch is flipped in this room.
I felt like there was something here. There's really extensive imagery going on. I felt like there was something here. I don't know. We're on this boat of people. They all seem very like rich and like they've clearly profited off of others.
They're fleeing the communists because I said they're fleeing the communists explicitly in Poland.
Yeah, they seem complicit in a lot of bad things, and they seem to be sort of Foppel's Mansion vibe, like very, very rich and
aristocratic.
What?
Aristocratic
and like partying,
hedonistic.
Like especially the contrast to Berlin, and the sort of ruins that Berlin is in, and the poverty that everyone is living in. Like this ship feels very indulgent.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they're all turning a blind eye to the world and like pleasuring each other. I felt like there was something there about like,
yeah,
it's all just like
one big bourgeois circle jerk.
Yeah.
Or
elegantly put, Patrick.
Or aristocratic, I guess. Some of them, it seems to be a mixture of sort of like people who have made money capitalistically and people who have made money kind of like pre-capitalistically.
I was Patrick and I got about halfway through, maybe not even halfway through, reading The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann earlier this year, which
the really long book club.
For the really long book club,
which we dropped out of because we're doing a podcast about a really long book, and it was too many really long books to handle at once. So listeners, know that we stuck with you. Anyways, also takes place in sort of a spa town, has a lot of kind of like wealthy people there. There's also kind of, at least as far as we got, there was like some incestuous sexual vibes happening in this spa town. I was just reminded of that book. Here feels very like sheltered from the rest of the world's problems.
Yeah. As we mentioned, Slothrop is part of the fray, for sure. He does notice that at one point, Thenat says that they're like a ship of all nations now, because now that they have an American, they've also got a Japanese man on board.
Kind of Noah's Ark vibes, but with people?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this is sort of presaged in the dream that Slothrop has the night before he gets here or whatever.
I really hadn't thought about that till you mentioned that, but it's clicking now.
But the Japanese liaison, or ex-liaison to Berlin, is watching the river the night.
Not participating.
Slothrop sort of xenophobically, or the narrator through Slothrop sort of xenophobically surmises that, like, well, that's just sort of like the inscrutability of the Japanese. There's a saxophonist using a saxophone as a vibrator, which I did find kind of funny, just as like an image.
There's another image here. Oh yeah, the enormous glass dildo with the baby piranhas swimming inside in a lavender medium. There, I think I may have brought this up in V when we had like the guy with like the goldfish belly and some other kind of like body horror going on that I felt like it felt very like Clive Barker to me. I know I'm bringing up a lot of imagery, but I feel like I was getting like, I don't know, I was picturing a lot of kind of grotesque imagery going on. It reminded me of this guy in the Clive Barker Abarat novels who like sort of has like a tank of fish like swimming around his face.
Yeah.
Like,
oh God, this boat would go bananas for the lament configuration from Hellraiser.
Oh yeah.
They would be all over that cube.
Oh yeah.
You tell me you have such sights to show us a dimension beyond pleasure and pain? Sign us up.
Yeah, I was picturing the cinematic version of this boat party, and it very much involved like a normal looking group of people, like rich people sort of like turning into like horrifying sort of like body horror situations where they start to like merge into each other and look very like animalistic.
Has the Chattanooga Choo Choo come up on this podcast before? Okay.
I can't remember where, Andrew.
Was it?
I feel like I brought it up one time. It seems like something I would bring up. And I'm glad it's here again.
Is it what they were playing at the jazz club in the Kenosha Kid section?
Yeah.
Or they were playing Cherokee, I know that.
Maybe.
But
No,
I feel like
they were playing like a jazz standard. I think it was Cherokee.
yeah, they were definitely playing Cherokee, but I didn't know if they were playing that as well elsewhere.
The Chattanooga Choo Choo really rang a bell for me. It's definitely come up before.
Maybe it's come up in a different book. I don't know. Is there something we should say about the Chattanooga Choo Choo? I'm not really remembering why.
No, I just feel like we talked about it before.
Couldn't say. Yeah, I just went back to the Kenosha Kid. They're playing Cherokee back there.
Does it come up in a song?
Maybe. Does it come up of you've heard of the Chattanooga Choo Choo, but you haven't heard of the Kenosha Kid? No, it does not.
We'll have to dig into that. It did really ring a bell for me, though. I feel like it's been around.
I'll see. Let me real quick. I can see if Weisenberger has something about it. He just says a Mac Gordon Harry Warren song for the 1941 film Sun Valley Serenade and a monumental wartime hit for the Glenn Miller Orchestra.
We'll just have to think on that one.
The sun is still hours away down the vast, unreadable underslope of Russia. Fog closes in as the engines slow.
They're moving over corpses?
Yeah. Speaking of the slow boat to Hades.
Yeah. Going through the fog.
Does that mean Schweinemünde is going to be hell?
That or hell is on this boat.
Hell might be everywhere. Yeah. It seems like I'm not sure that they've got brighter skies tomorrow on this boat.
Certainly not.
So we'll see. Maybe we never get off this boat. Maybe this is where this is
hope we get off
eternity.
this boat.
Well, that concludes the turning to the text portion of our evening. Do y'all have any final thoughts besides I hope we get off this boat sometime?
I feel like I was really feeling bummed out at the end of this section. I was like, Slothrop, I've made so many excuses for him. It's really the protagonist I was cheering on. I was like, I can't stand by this man anymore. Real disappointed in him. And then I was like, what is Thomas Pynchon doing? Like, it felt like a lot. Especially the whole situation with Bianca. I feel like pedophilia is just like coming back and back and back in this book. And I'm not exactly sure what it's building to, but I don't know. But then I was dwelling on it, and I feel like some of this boat was clicking a few things into place for me about Slothrop and his agency or lack of agency and conditioning, and I feel like we might be building to something.
I mean, I think you don't introduce your protagonist's immediate sexual attraction to a child unintentionally. You know what I mean? Like that. And I guess, we're just, we trust Thomas Pynchon. I don't know that I'm necessarily expecting like a redemption arc for Tyrone Slothrop here. He has always kind of seemed like a bit of a schmuck.
No, I'm not expecting a redemption arc.
But
and especially I feel like he himself even is realizing that he is complicit. Even if this is conditioning, he at this point is complicit in his actions.
Yeah.
It'll be, I don't know if interesting is the word, but I feel like we close to learning something. Like, are we close to getting something explicit in the text, or as explicit as the text might get in the near future? Like, I mean, if the Escarot is supposed to be in Schweinemünde, they're going to Schweinemünde. Slothrop's opinion about himself seems to maybe be at a low. Maybe there'll be a breakthrough into the Forbidden Wing.
Yeah, that the white woman in the evil hour came back up briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I say this as someone, one of my favorite books is Nabokov's Lolita. Like, I believe in the power of literature to, like, tackle taboo, unthinkable subjects. Like, I think that is something that is literature and novel specifically can be uniquely good at. Because as we've talked about on this podcast, like, it is very different to like watch something on film, as this book is interested in unpacking. Like, it might be very different to think about something or to watch something as enacted on film than as told in a story or as rendered in text. Like, so I think part of the revulsion that kind of probably most people reading this book, anyone, myself included, the Pulitzer Prize Committee included, feels is, very much I try to understand it as like, okay, well, this is an intentional effect, in a kind of Pavlovian way. Like, there's a stimulus going on in this book right now, and I think we are having the natural conditioned response to that stimulus.
Yeah, I will say that once again, Pynchon demonstrates that he's very adept at making a party of aristocrats look really grotesque.
Mm-hmm. Shall we see where it goes next time?
So we have to.
Yeah, we're in it. We're in it. We can't just abandon Gravity's Rainbow now. We're over Brinchlus. We gotta. The only way out is through.
I do want to find out. I agree with you, Andrew. I feel like we're getting close to something.
How many times have we reading Thomas Pynchon been like, I feel like it's really all about to click into place, y'all.
Click into place
any minute now.
But surely this time we're getting close.
Surely. Thank you for listening to Pynchon Pals. And thank you to Andrew Tillett.
Thank you.
And to Duri Long.
Thank you
for joining me. If you like what we're doing here, we'd love it if you left us a review on Apple Podcasts or on your podcatcher of choice. On our next episode, we'll be reading episodes 3.15 through 3.18, which is a little bit of it's not as many pages as we've been doing, which is exciting for us, potentially for you. Although that means it's a great time to send in a question. We might dip in. We have a couple in line that if we get extra time on one of these episodes, we might dip into. So reach out at pynchonpals@gmail.com for that. To support the work we do here, you can head to patreon.com/pynchonpals. Our theme music is Horology by the inimitable King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, released under a Creative Commons Attribution No Derivatives license on the album Polygon Dwanaland. Pynchon Pals is produced and edited by me, Patrick Fiorilli. You can find more of my work alongside my newsletter, Critical Theory Craft, at my website, www.patf.io. Until next time.
I'm really trying to think of something.
These are getting
while you're
harder
doing
and harder.
The credits.
I was too. I didn't get anywhere.
You got this.
I was trying to think of a rhyme with potato.
I was going for something with Onerine.
Some on the line. Hang on the line. We'll see you down the line, Onerine.
Ah,
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good.
Wow, I've never done one of those before. That was fun.
thrilling.
Hello.
He's back. Duri is, I don't know what she's doing. She's like shuffling through her books desperately, honestly, like a character out of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, trying to track down the solution to some demon or other. She is also trying to put her...
Oh.
She's trying to do
I'm on the move. I'm on the move with Duri.
Hang on. I'll move you, Charsher.
Oh. Is she going to the comfy chair for the second half of the pod? Okay. I like this. I'm excited.
I don't know how this is going to go.
Welcome to season 2 of Pynchon Pals. Duri's in a chair now.
Turi's
Yeah,
much
Duri's-
more relaxed.
Everyone, Duri's has moved from her desk to a comfy chair. So if
You know,
you notice a vibe change,
I'm
that's why.
exploring a new mode of podcasting. Situated so my mic can stay in roughly the same spot. Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.